You are listening to Crimson Moon Rising, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. This is an on-demand original story written by request for the audience of this channel. She's been hiding for 5 years, selling strawberries at a farmer's market. He's a billionaire alpha who calls her perfect berries adequate. Their first meeting ends with her throwing his money back at him. Their second, she dents his Range Rover with her boots. By their third, they'll be fighting for their lives. Meet Hazel, the last Crimsonwood heir with 23 days to reclaim her power. Meet Beckett, who made a deadly deal before he even knew she existed. And meet Riot, a talking raccoon who's about to save everyone with cookie sheet combat skills. Crimson Moon Rising, where broken souls will be healed, outcasts become soulmates, and a raccoon becomes. Well, there's only one way to find out. This story has the rewarding and satisfying ending you've been craving. Promise. This is an original story written on demand for you. Created specifically for this channel's audience who requested heartwarming shifter romances with twists and turns. Want your story idea next? Comment below. But first, listen to the end. Trust me, you'll need tissues and you'll be smiling. Don't forget to like and comment. Your engagement is the only way to support the channel and keep these heartwarming stories coming your way. Now let's begin with the strawberries that started a war. Chapter 1. The strawberries were going to be a problem. Hazel Crimsonwood knew it the moment she caught Riot with his tiny black paws wrapped around the biggest one in the punnet, juice dripping down his gray fur like he'd committed murder. That's the third one this morning. She snatched the basket away, ignoring his chittering protest. These are for customers, not freeloading trash pandas with commitment issues. Riot sat back on his haunches, pressing one paw to his chest in mock offense. Trash panda? After everything we've been through? His voice carried that particular mix of wounded dignity and barely suppressed mischief that meant he was about to do something spectacularly stupid. I'm a raccoon of distinction. A connoisseur, I'm doing quality control. You're doing theft. Hazel loaded the last crate of vegetables into her beat-up truck, muscles moving with practiced efficiency despite the exhaustion that seemed to live in her bones these days. 5 years of pretending to be human. 5 years of waiting. 23 days until the next full moon, when her power would finally... We shouldn't go today. Riot hopped onto the truck's tailgate, his ringed tail twitching like a rattlesnake's warning. Bad feeling. Very bad. Terrible, actually. My whiskers are practically screaming. Your whiskers scream every time I don't let you finish an entire wheel of brie. She shrugged into her favorite jacket. Red wool, hand-stitched by an elder whose face she tried not to remember. The puffed shoulders made her look broader than she was, which helped at the markets. Lone female vendors attracted certain types of attention she had no patience for. This is different. Riot's usual theatrical flair dropped, leaving something genuinely uneasy in his black eyes. Smells wrong. Like pack business. The words hit her spine like ice water, but Hazel kept her hand steady as she secured the truck bed. There's no pack business in Woodend. It's a human town. That's the entire point. Humans don't make my fur stand up like this, he demonstrated, puffing up until he looked like a disgruntled pom-pom. Skip it. 1 month won't kill us. 1 month without market money might. She climbed into the driver's seat, leaving the door open for him. Rent's due. Feed bills due. That alpaca medication isn't going to pay for itself. Riot scrambled up, settling on the passenger seat with a huff that sent strawberry-scented breath her way. The alpacas are demons. Fuzzy, spitting demons who hate me specifically. Everyone hates you specifically. You steal their food. I redistribute it. There's a difference. The 20-minute drive to Woodend Farmers Market passed in familiar rhythm. Riot providing running commentary on every cow they passed, suspicious, every magpie, definitely government surveillance, and every speed limit sign, suggestions at best. Hazel let his chatter wash over her, a buffer against the silence that would otherwise let her think too much about what she'd lost, what she'd become. The market bustled with its usual Saturday morning energy. Families pushing strollers between stalls, elderly couples debating tomato varieties, hipsters photographing artisanal honey. Normal, human, safe. Hazel had just finished arranging her strawberries in perfect pyramids when she saw him. No, she saw the suit first. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, worth more than her truck. The man wearing it looked like an assistant or bodyguard, all sharp efficiency as he surveyed her produce with clinical attention. His fingers hovered over the strawberries like a surgeon selecting instruments. "How much for the strawberries?" His voice carried that particular emptiness of someone used to transactional relationships. $12 a punnet. She watched him select 3 baskets, then add a bag of silver beet and some tomatoes without examining them. "Would you like to—" "No need." He handed her a crisp $100 bill. "Keep the change." Before she could respond, he was walking away, produce balanced in his arms like an offering, heading toward a black Range Rover parked at the market's edge. The windows were tinted dark as sins, but she caught movement inside. Someone sampling her strawberries. Then the window rolled down 2 inches, just enough for her to hear the verdict. Acceptable, but hardly exceptional, rather disappointing for the price point. The voice was smooth as aged whiskey, dismissive as a casual execution. The words shouldn't have mattered. She dealt with worse customers. Karen from the book club who insisted her zucchinis were too aggressive, or that couple who'd wanted their money back because her carrots weren't singing with earth energy. But something about that dismissive tone delivered from behind tinted glass like she wasn't worth facing directly made her wolf stir for the first time in months. A low growl built in her chest, silent but there. "Oh no," Riot muttered from his hiding spot under the table. No, we don't do confrontation. We're hiding, remember? Laying low, being boring?" Hazel was already walking. The suit saw her coming and stepped forward, clearly intending to intercept, but she moved past him with the fluid grace she usually kept hidden. The wolf's grace, the predator's purpose. Her knuckles rapped against the window, sharp, decisive, the sound of challenge. "If you have feedback about my produce, you can deliver it to my face." The window hummed down and Hazel forgot how to breathe. The man inside was unexpected. Dark hair that looked professionally tousled, jaw sharp enough to cut glass, and eyes the color of winter storms, gray with threads of silver that caught the light like lightning. He held one of her strawberries between fingers that had never known manual labor, examining it like it had personally offended his ancestors. But it was his scent that hit her hardest. Fine leather and cedar, something wild underneath the expensive cologne. Wolf, alpha, power that made her dormant strength wake up and bare its teeth. "Ms." He raised an eyebrow, waiting. His voice in person was worse. It rolled over her skin like thunder before rain. She didn't give him her name. "You bought my strawberries, 3 punnets, then declared them disappointing from the safety of your climate-controlled throne." His lips twitched, almost a smile. Dangerous. "I said acceptable." "You said disappointing for the price point." She reached through the window and plucked the half-eaten strawberry from his fingers, her skin brushing his for just a heartbeat. Electric. "Which is fascinating considering you didn't even ask the price. I assumed anyone charging $12 for farm market strawberries would deliver excellence." He leaned back against leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly mortgage, completely at ease with her hand in his space. "These are merely adequate." Adequate. She turned the strawberry, examining it with exaggerated interest. Perfect red flesh, seeds like tiny gems, the juice on his fingers evidence of its sweetness. "This adequate strawberry that you couldn't stop eating?" I was confirming my assessment required multiple samples. "How thorough of you." She pulled the $100 note from her pocket and tossed it onto his lap with deliberate carelessness. "Consider yourself refunded. I don't serve customers who can't appreciate quality." She turned on her heel, strawberry still in hand, and made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her. Not raised, not demanding, just certain she'd stop. Beckett Stone. She kept walking, making sure her body language screamed that she wasn't listening and didn't care what his name was. but her wolf ears caught everything. The shift of leather as he moved, the slight intake of breath. "That's generally when you provide your name in return," he called after her, and now there was something else in his voice. Interest, amusement, hunt. Generally, people introduce themselves before insulting someone's life's work. She heard the car door open behind her but didn't look back. Didn't run either, though every instinct screamed to. Running triggered chase, and alphas always chased. Riot was practically vibrating under the table when she returned, his eyes huge as dinner plates. "That was, did you see his face?" The raccoon's voice pitched high enough to shatter glass. Nobody talks to alphas like that, especially not alphas who smell like money and murder. He smelled like entitlement and cologne. "Same thing." Riot scrambled up her arm to perch on her shoulder, tiny claws digging through the jacket like grappling hooks. "We need to leave, now, before Beckett, Riot, not Bucket. Whatever his name is decides we're interesting. We don't do interesting, Hazel, remember? We do boring, invisible. Definitely not telling off random alphas who could buy this entire market with pocket change." But it was too late. She could feel eyes on her, not just Beckett's, but others throughout the market. The supernatural community was small, even diluted among humans. Word would spread like wildfire through dry grass. The red-haired woman who dismissed Beckett Stone like he was nobody special. 23 days until the full moon. 23 days to stay hidden, gather her strength, and return to reclaim what was taken from her. She just painted a target on her back in neon colors. Riot? She started packing up her stall, ignoring the confused looks from neighboring vendors. It was barely 10 a.m. "Next time you have a bad feeling about market day?" "Yeah?" Riot's whiskers perked with hope. "I'm listening to you, Riot." "Finally, and no more calling me Trash Panda, okay? I'm more than that. I'm your supernatural consultant, your mystical advisor, my pain in the tail who was absolutely right this time." Behind them, she heard the Range Rover's engine purr to life, but it didn't leave. She could feel Beckett watching as she loaded her truck, as she helped Mrs. Chen from the flower stall carry her buckets, as she pretended her hands weren't shaking slightly from the adrenaline of what she'd just done. The last time she'd stood up to an alpha, she'd lost everything. Her pack, her position, her trust in anyone who called themselves family. But that was before, when she was weak, when she trusted the wrong people. In 23 days under the crimson moon, she'd be different. Stronger, ready, she just had to survive until then. "He's still watching," Riot whispered, peeking over her shoulder. "I know. This is bad, Hazel. I know. Like monumentally bad, catastrophically bad. Bad with a capital B-A-D bad." She climbed into the truck, settling Riot on the passenger seat. "You know what?" "What?" Riot blinked, bracing for impact. She glanced in the rearview mirror. Beckett Stone stood beside his Range Rover now, still holding the half-eaten strawberry like evidence in a crime, watching her with an expression she couldn't read, wouldn't read, refused to read. His strawberries were definitely adequate. Riot groaned and covered his eyes with his paws. "We're going to die. We're absolutely going to die. Death by handsome, rich, probably psychotic alpha who you just humiliated in public." But as Hazel drove away, she caught herself almost smiling for the first time in 5 years. Her wolf, dormant for so long, stretched under her skin like it was waking from hibernation. Maybe hiding was overrated anyway. The strawberry in her hand was perfect, sweet, ripe, worth more than adequate. And Beckett Stone had noticed. That was definitely going to be a problem. Chapter 2. The laptop wheezed like an asthmatic walrus every time Hazel clicked a link. "This thing is older than dirt," Riot observed from his perch on a stack of unsold vegetables, systematically demolishing a punnet of strawberries. "Older than that cheese you forgot in the back of the fridge. Older than—" "It works." She waited for the search results to load, watching the little wheel spin with all the urgency of a sloth on sedatives. Mostly. "Define works," Riot held up a strawberry, examining it critically before shoving the entire thing in his mouth. Because from here, it looks like you're trying to access the internet via carrier pigeon. The search results finally appeared. Beckett Stone, CEO, Stone Global Superfoods. Oh, Riot nearly choked on his strawberry. Oh no, this is worse than I thought. The images loaded one painful pixel at a time. Beckett in a boardroom. Beckett at a charity gala. Beckett on the cover of Forbes, looking like he'd been carved from marble by someone with a very specific fantasy about jawlines. Stone Global Superfoods, Hazel read aloud. Revolutionizing nutrition through sustainable sourcing and cutting-edge distribution. Net worth. She blinked. That can't be right. How many zeros? Riot scrambled across the keyboard, leaving tiny strawberry sticky paw prints on the screen. 6? 7? Oh, sweet mother of garbage bins, that's 8. 8 zeros. That doesn't make sense. She clicked another link, waiting through another geological age for it to load. What's someone with 8 zeros doing at Woodend Farmers Market? Melbourne's got Queen Victoria Market, South Melbourne Market, a dozen others closer to his headquarters. Maybe he has a fetish for disappointment. Riot grabbed another strawberry. Gets his kicks from insulting small farmers. Rich people are weird. These are adequate strawberries, remember? Right, adequate. Riot took a vindictive bite. You know what I think? I think Beckett. Stone then. I think Stone was casing the joint. Planning to buy up all the small farms, turn them into parking lots or yoga retreats or whatever rich people do with land. That's ridiculous. Or, Riot stood on his hind legs, warming to his theme. He's secretly a strawberry vampire, needs fresh produce to survive but can only digest the finest quality, which is why he was so disappointed. Strawberry vampire? It's a thing, probably. Or maybe he's in witness protection. Hiding from the superfood mafia. A crash from the backyard cut him off. Hazel was moving before her brain caught up, muscle memory from a different life taking over. The screen door slammed behind her as she burst into the darkness, her eyes adjusting instantly to the moonlight. Something was in her greenhouse. Not something. Someone. The shadow moved wrong. Too fluid, too fast. Not quite human, but not quite wolf either. It was stuffing produce into a bag with desperate efficiency, and that's when she saw what it held in its other hand. Riot dangling by his tail, chittering in outrage. Put him down! The thing turned, and Hazel's blood went cold. Wrong angles, wrong proportions. Like someone had tried to shift between forms and gotten stuck halfway. Rogue. The kind that happened when wolves lost themselves to the beast became more animal than person. Mine, it growled through a muzzle that shouldn't exist in either form. Found it, mine. That's my friend, not an it. She stepped forward, hands raised, non-threatening but ready. Let him go, take the vegetables. No one has to get hurt. Hey, Riot protested. Don't negotiate with my life. I'm worth more than vegetables. I'm exotic. I'm distinguished. The rogue squeezed. Shutting up now, Riot wheezed. Please. Hazel kept her voice soft, the way you'd talk to a spooked animal. He's just a raccoon. He's no threat to you. The rogue tilted its head, considering. Then, so fast she barely saw it move, it dropped Riot and bolted. Hazel caught Riot one-handed and took off after the thief. The rogue was fast, but Hazel had grown up running these hills. She knew every route, every dip, every shortcut. Her human form might be weaker than it used to be, but muscle memory was a beautiful thing. She was gaining when the Range Rover appeared out of nowhere. She hit the hood hard enough to dent it, rolled up the windshield with a grace that surprised everyone, including herself, and landed in a crouch on the roof. For a heartbeat, she stayed there, balanced on expensive metal, watching the rogue disappear into the forest. Then the back door of the car flew open. Beckett stood there looking up at her in shock. His mouth moved, might have been asking if she was fine, but her ears were still ringing from the impact. Red jacket, wild hair, perched on his car like some feral woodland spirit. She must have looked absolutely mad. She slid down the windshield, landing directly in front of him. Too close. Close enough to see his pupils dilate, to catch the hitch in his breath. "I'm fine, your car, however." She glanced at the hazel-shaped dent in the hood. "That's going to be expensive. Keep talking." His voice was rough with concern. "I want to make sure you're lucid." His hands came up, hovering near her arms like he wanted to check for injuries, but wasn't sure he had permission to touch. The almost touch sent heat racing across her skin. "What were you running from?" "I wasn't running from anything." She lifted her chin, meeting those storm-gray eyes. "I was chasing." "There's a difference." "You were chasing something dangerous enough to make you run into traffic?" "You're not traffic. You're a stalker with expensive taste in vehicles." His lips twitched, that almost smile again. "I'm not stalking you." "No? Then what are you doing on my property at—" She checked her watch. 11:13 p.m.? "This is a public road, not your property." The suit, the assistant, emerged from the driver's seat, looking deeply uncomfortable. "This was my idea. Mr. Stone wanted to return to Melbourne, but I suggested we survey the area first, for potential supplier relationships. It's standard protocol when considering new sourcing partnerships." "At night?" "We got lost," the assistant admitted, color rising in his cheeks. "The GPS kept trying to send us through a creek." "That's old Murphy's shortcut. You need a 4-wheel drive and a death wish to make it." She turned back to Beckett, who was still standing too close, still looking at her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve. His nostrils flared slightly, testing the air. She could tell the exact moment he realized he couldn't catch her scent. Confusion flickered across his features. Then she remembered. Her red jacket, the blessed jacket the elder had made for her. It masked what she was, hid her wolf completely. She'd forgotten she was wearing it. "I smell the creature. Rogue," he muttered, eyes scanning the darkness where it had disappeared. "You shouldn't chase it." Too late now. She eased out of his proximity, needing space to think clearly. The words hung between them, charged with something that made her skin prickle. He leaned in slightly, drawn by something neither of them wanted to name, and she caught his scent again, leather and cedar and wild things barely contained by expensive suits. "Are you sure you're okay?" "I can take you to the nearest hospital to check. Excuse me." They both jumped. Riot sat on the car's roof, arms crossed, tail swishing with indignation. "Hi, hello. Remember me? The one who almost got squeezed to death by mutant wolf thing? No? Just gonna keep having your weird, aggressive flirting moment? Cool, 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 cool." The assistant made a sound like he'd swallowed his tongue. "It talks." "He talks," Riot corrected, drawing himself up to his full, unimpressive height. "He has a name, which is Riot, and he has opinions, which are numerous, and he would like to go home now before any more weird wolves show up to use him as a stress ball." Beckett stared at Riot, then at Hazel, then back at Riot. "Your raccoon talks." "Astute observation, Stone." Riot skittered down to Hazel's shoulder. "Real sharp. Can see why you're running a global empire." "The raccoon talks." "Brilliant. What's next? The sky is up." "Riot," Hazel warned. "What? I'm traumatized. I'm allowed to be sassy when traumatized. It's in the handbook." "What handbook?" "The handbook of staying alive despite everyone trying to kill me. Chapter 1. If you survive, you get to be as sarcastic as you want." "Despite everything," Beckett smiled. A real one this time, not the almost smile, and it transformed his face from marble sculpture to something dangerously human. Something that made her wolf stir with interest despite her best efforts. "I'll walk you home," he said. "Make sure nothing else is lurking." "I don't need—" "I dented your car," Riot interrupted. "Well, Hazel dented your car, but I was present for the denting, which makes me a witness, and as a witness, I say you should definitely walk us home for insurance purposes." "Riot!" "What? The man's clearly not going to murder us. Murderers don't look that confused by talking raccoons. Plus, he smells like money, and if he sues us for the car damage, we're eating instant noodles for the next decade." "I'm not suing anyone," Beckett said. still looking at Riot like he was reconsidering everything he knew about the world. See? Not murdery at all. Very non-murdery. Practically anti-murder. Riot patted Hazel's head with one tiny paw. Let the nice billionaire walk us home. What's the worst that could happen? You literally said we were going to die by his hand this morning. That was before he became useful as a wolf deterrent. I'm adaptable. It's part of my charm. The assistant cleared his throat. Sir, we should take the car back to the hotel, Beckett said, not looking away from Hazel. I'll call when I need pickup. But go, Pete. Pete looked between them, clearly wanting to argue, but something in Beckett's tone made it not a request. He got in the driver's seat, carefully maneuvered around them, and drove off into the night, leaving them in sudden silence. Well, relative silence. This is a terrible idea, Riot stage whispered. But also kind of romantic? In a we're all going to die, but at least the sexual tension is nice kind of way? There's no sexual tension, Hazel said firmly. Beckett raised an eyebrow. Okay, maybe a little tension. A little, Riot snorted. You could cut it with a knife, a butter knife, a spoon even. The air is basically tension soup right now. How far is your house? Beckett asked, mercifully changing the subject. 5 minutes through the woods, 15 by the road. Woods it is. They walked in silence for approximately 30 seconds before Riot started up again. So, Stone, can I call you Stone? I'm calling you Stone. What's a fancy superfood CEO doing stalking farmers? Besides the obvious crushing on Hazel thing? Riot, I swear, I wasn't stalking, Beckett said calmly, and I'm not crushing. Right, sure. That's why you're walking through dark woods with us instead of being in your fancy hotel. For fun. Because billionaires famously love hiking through wolf-infested forests at midnight. It's 11:30. Oh, excuse me, wolf-infested forests at 11:30. Totally different, much more reasonable. Hazel wanted to die, or at least muzzle Riot. But Beckett seemed more amused than annoyed, navigating the rough path with surprising ease for someone in Italian leather shoes. You knew that wasn't a normal wolf, she said suddenly. He glanced at her, moonlight catching the sharp angles of his face. So did you. I live here. I know the local wildlife. And I know predators. His voice carried weight, history. That thing was hunting. Desperate. It'll be back. Then I'll deal with it. Alone? I have Riot. Oh, yes, Riot piped up. Because I was so helpful. Really showed that monster who was boss when it was using me as a squeeze toy. They emerged from the woods onto her property. The old farmhouse sat in a pool of yellow porch light, looking cozy and isolated in equal measure. Thank you, she said stiffly, for the walk. You can call your assistant now. You're not going to invite me in for coffee? His tone was teasing, but his eyes were serious, scanning the shadows around her house. It's almost midnight. I've had coffee at midnight before. I bet you have special billionaire coffee that costs more than my mortgage. Probably. He pulled out his phone, but didn't dial. That thing will come back. You know that, right? I know. And you're not worried? She met his eyes, letting him see just a flash of the predator under her skin. This is my property. If it comes back, I can't guarantee its safety. Next time I chase it, I will catch it, if I'm not interrupted by a Range Rover. Something flared in his gaze. Not fear, but interest. Hunger, maybe. The kind that had nothing to do with food and everything to do with the way he was looking at her mouth. Good to know you can protect yourself and those you care for, he said softly, and the words felt like a caress. They stood there, caught in each other's gravity, the space between them crackling with possibility, until Riot made a gagging sound. Okay, this is getting weird. Stone, go home. Hazel, inside. Everyone stop looking at each other like you're about to either fight or... Good night, Ms. Beckett waited one last time. She almost told him. Almost. Good night, Mr. Stone. She walked inside without looking back, Riot chattering on her shoulder about the statistical probability of their deaths increasing exponentially with each interaction. But she stood at the window, watching until Pete's car returned, watching Beckett fold himself into the back seat with predatory grace, watching the taillights disappear into the dark. "He'll be back," Riot said quietly. "I know. The wolf thing will be back too." "I know, Riot. We're in so much trouble." She touched the glass where his reflection had been, felt the phantom warmth of him standing too close, remembered the way his eyes had darkened when she'd let him glimpse her true nature. "I know. We should lay low. I'll pack my stuff. Maybe we'll move in with the elder for a few days. What do you say?" Riot made a non-committal sound, something about the tragic lack of his favorite foods at the elder's place. But Hazel wasn't listening. She was thinking about storm gray eyes and the way he'd said her name, or tried to since she hadn't given it to him. The way he'd stood between her and the darkness, ready to protect her from something she could handle herself. 22 days until the full moon. 22 days to stay hidden. She was already compromised. Chapter 3. The car died with a wheeze that sounded suspiciously like relief. "Oh, come on!" Hazel slammed her palm against the steering wheel. "Not now. We're literally 5 minutes away." "This is karma," Riot announced from the passenger seat, where he'd built a nest from her emergency blanket. "The universe is punishing you for flirting with Bucket Stone." "Beckett? And I wasn't flirting." "You let him walk you home. Through the woods. At night. That's basically wolf foreplay." The engine made one last pathetic clicking sound and gave up entirely. They sat in sudden silence on the narrow road, eucalyptus trees pressing close on both sides, their trunks silver in the moonlight. "We walk from here," Hazel decided, grabbing her backpack. "It's not far." Famous last words. Riot scrambled onto her shoulder. "Right up there with 'I'll be right back' and 'let's split up.'" The night felt heavier here, closer to the sanctuary. Magic had a weight to it, a thickness that made breathing feel like work. The Elder's protection spells were strongest at the borders, designed to turn away anyone who didn't belong. Hazel belonged, or she used to. A branch snapped behind them. "That wasn't me," Riot whispered. "I know." Another snap, deliberate, taunting. "Run?" Riot suggested. "No." Hazel set down her backpack slowly, carefully. "Running makes it worse." The thing that emerged from the shadows wasn't the rogue from earlier. This was sleeker, more controlled. A wolf that hadn't lost itself to madness but had chosen violence with perfect clarity. Well, its voice was oil over gravel. Little Hazel Crimsonwood, all grown up and playing human. She didn't recognize the wolf, but it knew her. That was never good. "You've got 3 seconds to get off this road," she said quietly. It laughed. "Or what? You'll throw strawberries at me? I heard about your little farmer act." Pathetic. The Crimsonwood heir selling vegetables to humans like a... Hazel moved. Not shifted. She couldn't, not yet. Not without the moon. But her wolf surged forward anyway, lending her its speed, its fury. Her fist connected with the wolf's jaw hard enough to send it spinning into a tree. 2 seconds, she said. The wolf spat blood, eyes widening. "Your scent. Where's your scent?" 1. It attacked, and Hazel let her wolf rise further. Not a full shift, just shadows of it. Claws that weren't quite there, teeth that lengthened for a heartbeat, eyes that flashed gold in the darkness. She caught the wolf by the throat, lifted it off its feet, and threw it 20 feet down the road. 0! The wolf scrambled up and ran, limping but moving fast. "Holy trash pandas," Riot breathed. "You just... without shifting, how did you... We need to move." Hazel's hands were shaking. She could feel the red jacket struggling to contain what she'd just let loose, its protective magic straining at the seams. "Now!" They ran the last 5 minutes, Riot clinging to her shoulder and providing commentary she didn't need. "Your eyes went full glow stick. And your hands, were those claws?" "Those were definitely claws." "Oh man, Stone would have found that so hot." "Riot!" "What?" "I'm processing trauma through inappropriate observations." The sanctuary appeared between one step and the next the way it always did. a cottage that looked like it had grown from the earth itself, windows glowing warm against the dark, garden walls covered in climbing roses that bloomed regardless of season. The door opened before Hazel could knock. "You're late," the elder said. She stood barely 5 feet tall, silver hair braided in a crown, wearing a cardigan with cats on it that should have looked ridiculous, but somehow conveyed ancient authority. Her eyes, the same gold as Hazel's when she let her wolf show, took in everything at once. "Car trouble," Hazel said. The elder's gaze shifted to Riot. "You brought the thief." "I'm a procurement specialist," Riot protested. "You're a pain in my vegetables." But the elder's lips twitched. "Come in before you let all the warm air out. And Hazel, wipe your feet. You're tracking violence into my sanctuary." The inside was exactly as Hazel remembered, herbs hanging from the rafters, books stacked on every surface, a fire crackling despite the mild night. It smelled like sage and safety. "Sit," the elder commanded, pointing to the kitchen table. "Both of you." Hazel sat, Riot perched on the back of the chair, unusually quiet. The elder moved around the kitchen with practiced efficiency, setting a teapot to boil, pulling down cups that had been waiting for company. "So," she said without turning around, "you've been fighting, in public, drawing attention, everything I specifically told you not to do. There was a rogue." "I'm not talking about the rogue." The elder turned, fixing Hazel with a look that could strip paint. "I'm talking about the alpha you insulted at the farmer's market. Beckett Stone. Did you think word wouldn't spread?" "He insulted my strawberries." The elder's stern expression cracked slightly. "Of course he did. Men always start with the worst possible approach." She set tea in front of them, chamomile for Hazel, something that smelled suspiciously like espresso for Riot. "But that's not why you're here. The rogue will be dealt with. That's not why you're here either." Hazel frowned. "Then why?" "Your wolf is restless." The elder sat across from them, her weathered hands wrapped around her own cup. "I can feel it from here, child. It's been asleep for 5 years, and suddenly it's pacing like a caged thing. Why?" "The moon is coming. In 22 days, yes, but that's not what woke it." The elder's eyes softened. "Hazel, sweetheart, I've known you since you were born. I held you when you took your first breath. I was there when you first shifted at 7, youngest in 3 generations. And I was there when you—" She stopped, pain flickering across her features. "When I fought my own pack," Hazel finished quietly. "You were 12. The elder's voice caught. 12 years old, and you stood against grown wolves to hold the tunnel so I could escape. If you hadn't, they would have killed you." The elder reached across the table, taking Hazel's hand. "I should have been there. Should have protected your parents. Protected you. All I could do was make that jacket and hide you away, let you grow strong enough to reclaim what's yours. The jacket's been perfect. The jacket is failing." The elder squeezed her hand. "It wasn't meant to last this long, and what you did tonight, letting your wolf surface like that, you've cracked its magic. But that's not the only reason it's failing." Hazel pulled her hand back. "What do you mean?" The elder studied her for a long moment. "Your wolf is awake because it senses something. Someone." "No," Hazel said immediately. "Oh yes," Riot chimed in. "This is about stone. This is definitely about tall, dark, and adequate strawberries. It's not— A spirit wolf knows its mate, child." The elder's voice was gentle but firm. "It's why the jacket is struggling. Your wolf wants to be known, to be seen, to be claimed. Stop." Hazel stood abruptly. "Just stop. I don't have a mate. I don't want a mate. I want to survive the next 22 days, reclaim my pack, and what?" the elder asked. "Rule alone? Fight alone? Die alone like your parents?" The words hit like a slap. "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair, but the moon goddess sometimes tries to balance the scales." The elder stood, moving to a cabinet filled with bottles that glowed faintly in the firelight. "Your wolf recognized something in Beckett Stone. That's why it's fighting the jacket's magic. He doesn't even know who I am. Exactly. The elder pulled down a silver bottle. And that's going to be a problem. Because if your wolf has chosen him, it won't stay hidden much longer. The closer you get to the full moon, the harder it will be to resist. I can control it, Riot snorted. Like you controlled it tonight? Your eyes went full disco ball, Hazel. If Stone had seen that, but he didn't. This time, the elder handed her the silver bottle. This will help reinforce the jacket's magic, but only temporarily. A few days at most. That's all I need. No, child, you need much more than that. The elder cupped Hazel's face in her hands. You need to decide what you're fighting for. Revenge, justice, or something else? I'm fighting for my birthright. Your birthright includes a mate. The elder's eyes were sad but knowing. The Crimson Wood line has always been blessed with true mates. Your parents were, your grandparents, all the way back to the first wolf. It's part of your power. It's a weakness. Is it? Your mother once held off 30 wolves to protect your father. Your father tore through a mountain to reach her when she called. Together, they were unstoppable. Until they weren't. They died protecting what they loved. There are worse ways to go. Hazel pulled away. I should leave. The rogue might come back. Stay the night. It wasn't a request. Your car won't miraculously fix itself and you need rest. Tomorrow we'll work on reinforcing your controls. But Hazel Marie Crimsonwood, the elder's voice carried the weight of centuries. You will stay, you will sleep, and you will stop fighting what your wolf already knows. Fine, Hazel slumped back into the chair, but I'm not accepting a mate. Of course not, dear. The elder's eyes twinkled. Though you might want to wash your face. You have oil from his Range Rover on your cheek. Hazel's hand flew to her face, and the elder laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Your wolf isn't the only one affected, I see. I hate you, Hazel muttered. I love you too, dear one. The elder kissed her forehead. Now let's see about dinner. Riot, stop eyeing my tomatoes. You'll get fed properly. Define properly, Riot said suspiciously. As the elder bustled around the kitchen, Hazel touched the bottle of silver liquid, felt its cool promise of a few more days of hiding. 22 days until the full moon. 22 days until she could reclaim her pack. But now, there was another countdown running alongside it. How long before her wolf refused to be hidden? How long before Beckett Stone became more than just a distraction? How long before she had to choose between revenge and something that might be love? Stop thinking so loud, Riot complained. It's giving me indigestion. But Hazel couldn't stop thinking about storm gray eyes and the way her wolf had stirred when he'd stood close. A spirit wolf never chose wrong, but that didn't mean the choice was right. Not for someone with blood on their hands and vengeance in their heart. Not for someone who had 22 days to become the monster her pack deserved. Chapter 4. The view from the 57th floor should have been enough. Melbourne sprawled beneath him, lights scattered like fallen stars, the Yarra River cutting through it all like a dark wound. This office, this building, this empire he'd built, it should have been enough to hold his attention. Instead, Beckett Stone stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, seeing nothing but flame-red hair and eyes that had flashed gold for just a heartbeat when she'd thought he wasn't looking. Sir? Pete's reflection appeared in the glass, careful and concerned in that way only a beta could manage. The Woodend acquisition reports, Pete continued when Beckett didn't turn. You asked to review them an hour ago. Had it been an hour? Time moved differently now. There was before the market, ordered, controlled, purposeful, and there was after, this restless pacing his wolf was doing under his skin. Was Woodend wrong? Beckett asked quietly. Pete moved closer, and Beckett caught his beta's confusion in the window's reflection. Wrong, sir? The location, for what we need. Beckett finally turned, and Pete took an involuntary step back. Was your source wrong? My source has never been wrong. Pete's voice carried 20 years of loyalty, 15 years of friendship, 10 years of absolute trust. Every indicator pointed to the Woodend region. The herb's scent was overwhelming there, so strong even our rivals detected it. The rogue at her, at the farm. Beckett caught himself, but Pete's eyebrow twitched. Was it Hendrick's pack? Almost certainly, the scent markers match, and they've been pushing boundaries for months. Something was off about it. Beckett moved to his desk. Maps of Woodend spread across its surface, red circles marking search zones. Rogues don't usually maintain enough control to speak. This one did. Perhaps Hendrick's experimenting again. You know how he likes to push wolves past their breaking points. The thought made Beckett's hands clench. If Hendrick was creating rogues deliberately, weaponizing madness. "Sir." Pete's voice gentled, the tone he used when Beckett was spiraling. "The woman, the farmer. What about her? She's a distraction you can't afford right now." The words hung between them, truth sharp as claws. "I know," Beckett said. "Do you? Because you walked her home through the woods at night. That's not like you." "She dented my car." Pete's lips twitched. "She dented your car, so you walked her home?" It seemed logical at the time. "Right, logical." Pete set down the reports he'd been holding. "Beck, we have 3 weeks. 3 weeks to find the moonshade herb before Sarah's condition becomes irreversible. Your sister needs—" "I know what my sister needs." The words came out sharper than intended, and Beckett immediately softened his tone. "I'm sorry, I know." Pete studied him for a long moment. They'd grown up together, 2 boys who'd shifted for the first time on the same full moon, who'd sworn brotherhood before they understood what beta and alpha meant. Pete knew him better than anyone. "She was beautiful," Pete said finally. "The farmer, red hair like fire." "I didn't notice." "You noticed. You've been noticing for the past hour while staring at nothing." Pete moved closer. "But Beck, even if she's something special, this isn't the time. Sarah, we'll be fine. We'll find the moonshade. And if finding it means staying focused, means not getting tangled up with mysterious women who make you forget to breathe." Before Beckett could answer, the elevator chimed. His mother entered first, elegant in designer black, her silver hair pinned in a style that suggested boardroom rather than pack house. Behind her, a young woman followed, blonde, polished, beautiful in that carefully curated way that suggested hours of effort made to look effortless. "Darling," his mother said, gliding forward to kiss his cheek. "You remember Celeste? Richard's daughter? She's just returned from Switzerland." Of course, another attempt at suitable matches. His mother had been relentless since he'd turned 30. "Celeste." He nodded politely. She smiled, perfect teeth and practiced charm. "Beckett, it's been too long." She moved into his space with the confidence of someone who'd never been rejected, her expensive perfume cloying compared to the memory of strawberries and wool. His wolf, usually at least moderately interested in potential mates, remained completely still. Dead still, like it was playing dead to avoid this. "I'll leave you 2 to catch up," his mother said, but her eyes lingered on Beckett's face. She knew him too well. "Actually, I need to speak with you," Beckett said. "Privately. Celeste, Pete can show you the view from the conference room." Celeste's smile faltered slightly, but Pete smoothly stepped in, guiding her away with beta charm. When they were alone, his mother sighed. "You could at least pretend to be interested." "Why? We both know she's wrong." "She's from a powerful family. The alliance would—" "Mother." She stopped, really looked at him. "Oh," she said softly. "Oh, my darling boy." "What? You've met someone?" "I haven't—" "Don't lie to me. I carried you for 9 months and cleaned your scraped knees for 18 years. I know every expression on your face." She touched his cheek gently. "Who is she?" "No one. It doesn't matter. It matters enough that your wolf won't even look at Celeste, and she's exactly your usual type." "I don't have a type." "Controlled, suitable, safe." His mother's eyes were too knowing. "This new one isn't any of those things, is she?" Beckett turned back to the window. "There's no new anyone." His mother was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried a weight he'd never heard before. "Do you know what broke my heart the day you were chosen as Alpha? The question surprised him. You were proud. You said, "I lied." She moved to stand beside him, their reflections side by side in the glass. "I was devastated. Not because you weren't worthy, you were born for it, but because I knew what it meant. The moment the pack chose you, you lost the freedom to choose anything for yourself. Your life, your mate, your future, everything became about the pack. This is the life I want." Is it? Or is it the life you've convinced yourself to want because the alternative is letting everyone down? Keeping our family safe is what matters. Keeping the pack strong. Your father said the same thing. Her voice cracked slightly. Right up until the day he died protecting territory, that meant nothing compared to what he lost. Mother, I'm not criticizing him or you, but Beckett, my beautiful, stubborn boy, the pack's strength comes from its alpha's heart, and an alpha with a broken heart, an alpha who denies his wolf's choice. She trailed off. My wolf hasn't chosen anyone. She laughed, soft and sad. Your wolf chose someone the moment you walked in here trying not to think about her. I can see it in your eyes. They're practically glowing with the effort of not thinking about her. Even if that were true, it doesn't matter. Sarah needs her brother to be whole, not sacrificing everything, not playing the martyr. Whole. She pulled him into a hug, fierce and maternal, and for a moment, Beckett let himself be just her son. Not the alpha, not the CEO, just a man whose wolf was pacing restlessly, pointing north toward Woodend. Tell me about her, his mother whispered. I don't even know her name. But the words came before he could stop them. She threw my money back at me because I insulted her strawberries. She has a talking raccoon. She stood up to a rogue without shifting, without fear. She smells like... He stopped. Like what? Like home, his wolf supplied. Like mine. Like trouble, he said instead. His mother pulled back, studying his face. Good trouble or bad trouble? I don't know yet. Find out. She squeezed his shoulders. Whatever's happening in Woodend, whoever she is, find out. The pack needs their alpha strong, yes, but they need him happy too. Your father forgot that. Don't make his mistake. And Celeste? I'll handle Celeste and Richard and anyone else who thinks they can choose your mate for you. His mother's eyes flashed gold. She might not be alpha anymore, but she was still the alpha's mother. That's your wolf's choice, and from the look of things, it's already chosen. She left him standing there, staring out at the city lights that seemed dimmer somehow. Everything seemed dimmer after the vivid red of her hair, the flash of gold in her eyes, the way she'd smiled despite herself. Pete returned a few minutes later. Celeste is disappointed. She'll recover. Your mother seems pleased, though. She's decided I'm in love. Aren't you? Beckett turned sharply. I met her once. Once was enough for your parents. Your mother tells that story all the time, how your father took one look and knew. That's different. Why? Because she doesn't even trust me with her name. Because there's something she's hiding. Because my wolf wants to hunt down whoever hurt her and tear them apart. And that's not normal. That's not safe. It just is. Pete was quiet for a moment. The moonshade can wait one more day. What? Go back tomorrow to Woodend. Take the morning, do your actual job, check out suppliers, build relationships. And if you happen to run into a certain red-haired farmer... Pete shrugged. Well, that would just be coincidence. Since when do you encourage distractions? Since I saw you actually smile for the first time in 2 years. Pete headed for the door. Your wolf's been dead inside since Sarah got sick, since you took over the pack. Tonight's the first time I've seen it truly awake. Alone again, Beckett pressed his palm against the window, felt the cool glass against his skin. Somewhere north, past the city lights and suburban sprawl, in a small farming town that smelled of moonshade and mystery, there was a woman with fire in her hair and gold in her eyes. His wolf stirred, restless and ready. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow, he'd go back. For the moonshade, he told himself. But his wolf laughed, knowing the truth. He was going back for her. Chapter 5. The grass beneath her knees was still damp from morning dew, and Hazel's fingers ached from combing through it for the past hour. Each blade felt like sandpaper against her oversensitive skin, the silver potion turning every sensation into punishment. "It's not here," Riot announced from his perch on a picnic table. "I told you. I saw it on your dresser when you were doing that whole I'm dying but pretending I'm fine routine this morning. I had it when we left." Her voice came out rough, gravel over broken glass. The silver potion had left her throat raw, her wolf clawing from the inside like a caged thing trying to tear free. "Mom's pendant. I never take it off except when you're wrestling with strawberries and insulting the most powerful alpha in the region and basically destroying your entire life plan." Riot examined his claws with exaggerated interest. "But sure, crawl around in the grass some more. That'll fix everything." A family unpacked their lunch at the next table over, their toddler immediately spotting Riot. "Puppy!" the child squealed. Riot froze, adopting his "I'm just a normal raccoon" pose. "That's a raccoon, sweetie," the mother corrected. "Don't touch. They have rabies." "I do not have rabies," Riot muttered under his breath, then remembered himself and chittered innocently. "I'm fully vaccinated. I have paperwork. A very nice vet said I was the healthiest raccoon she'd ever threatened with a thermometer." Hazel's hands shook as she searched another patch of grass. Without her wolf's senses, she was blind. The pendant could be 3 feet away and she'd never know. The silver potion had stolen everything, her strength, her senses, her ability to think straight. "You know why we're really here," Riot said quietly. "The pendant is on your dresser. You're here because tall, dark, and adequate strawberries might show up. That's ridiculous. That's why you wore your nice jeans, the ones without holes. All my other jeans were dirty. And lipstick. It's chapstick. It's tinted chapstick, which is basically lying." The sound of an expensive engine killed her retort. The Range Rover purred into the same spot as yesterday, as this morning, as every time her life had gotten complicated. Her traitorous heart recognized it before her eyes did, drumming against her ribs like it was trying to escape. Beckett stepped out first, and her lungs forgot their job. Casual Saturday. Beckett was criminally unfair. Worn jeans that fit too well, a gray t-shirt that showed he didn't just sit in boardrooms, hair slightly messed like he'd been running his hands through it. The afternoon sun caught the silver threads in his storm-colored eyes. Pete followed, carrying what looked like a briefcase and a box of cookies. Riot Stage whispered, practically vibrating. "Pete brought cookies. I take back everything. We're definitely here for the right reasons." "Stay quiet," Hazel hissed. "There are humans everywhere." "I'm always quiet around humans. I'm the soul of discretion, a monument to silence." Oh my God, are those chocolate chip?" Beckett's eyes found her immediately, and something shifted in his expression, concern replacing whatever he'd been thinking. 3 strides and he was there, too close, bringing a wave of cedar and wild things that made her wolf whimper despite the silver burning it quiet. "You're sick. You took silver potion." "Why?" His nostrils flared slightly, and she knew he was cataloging every wrong thing about her scent, or lack thereof. "I'm fine." "You're on your hands and knees in a public park." He crouched beside her, voice dropping to that dangerous register that made her skin prickle. The heat of him radiated across the space between them. "What are you looking for?" "Nothing, just—" Her throat closed around the words. "My mother's pendant, but it's probably at home." "Silver chain? Blue stone wrapped in copper wire?" Her head snapped up so fast the world tilted. "You've seen it?" He pulled something from his pocket. The pendant caught the afternoon light, the lapis lazuli seeming to glow against his palm. His fingers were gentle with it, careful, like he understood its value went beyond metal and stone. "It was on the bonnet of my car." "The one with the Hazel dent?" Riot asked, making Pete chuckle, a surprise sound he quickly swallowed. "You came here to return my necklace?" "Among other things." He helped her stand, his hand on her elbow sending electricity racing up her arm despite the silver's numbing poison. His touch was careful but firm, steadying her when she swayed. "We need to talk about the rogues." "Beckett wants to invest in the local farms," Pete added, joining them with professional smoothness. "Stone Global is looking to source a particular herb that seems to only grow in this region." "Moonshade," Hazel said without thinking. Both men went still, the air suddenly charged. "You know it?" Beckett's voice was carefully neutral, but his hand tightened slightly on her elbow. "Everyone knows moonshade. It's basically a weed around here. Grows wild on the old territories." She stopped. "I mean the old farms, the abandoned ones." Beckett shook his head, frustration flickering across his features. "We can't find any." Riot commented sagely, "You need a nose for it. You don't see the plant with your eyes. You follow its song. Very mystical, very complicated. Requires a sophisticated palate. Or you could just ask Hazel because she knows where everything grows, but that would be too easy." The toddler from the next table made a break for it, heading straight for Riot with sticky hands extended. "Puppy! Want puppy!" Riot backed up, maintaining his cover. But something was wrong. The air pressure dropped, that feeling before a storm when everything goes still and waiting. The mother chasing her child moved wrong. Too fluid, too purposeful, predator pretending to be prey. "Beckett," she breathed. "I see it." His body shifted subtly, putting himself between her and the not mother. The movement was pure instinct, protective and possessive. "Pete?" "3 more, north side, 2 from the east." Pete's voice stayed conversational, but his hand moved to Riot. "At least 7 total." "Puppy!" The toddler lunged for Riot just as the not mother lunged for the child. Riot waved his tiny hands frantically. "Kid, run! That's not your mom. Your mom smells like juice boxes and exhaustion. This one smells like murder." The child froze. The not mother smiled, showing too many teeth. "Smart rodent," she said, then shifted. Chaos erupted like a dam breaking. 7 became 10, became 15. Rogues everywhere, herding humans like sheep, cutting off escape routes with practiced precision. "Protect the civilians," Beckett ordered, already moving. He caught one rogue's jaw before it could close on a teenager, throwing it into a picnic table with enough force to splinter wood into confetti. Pete had Riot under one arm, using a cookie sheet from the abandoned lunch as an improvised shield. "Why do you have this?" Riot shrieked. "I stress bake, we discussed this." "That doesn't explain the combat applications." A rogue charged them. Pete swung the cookie sheet like a baseball bat, catching it across the face with a sound like a cathedral bell. "I played cricket at university," Pete explained, then grabbed a fleeing family, directing them toward the parking lot. "This way, move!" Hazel tried to help, but her body wouldn't respond properly. The silver had her reflexes shot, her strength gone. A rogue knocked her down, its breath hot and rancid against her face, jaws snapping for her throat. Beckett's wolf erupted from nowhere, gray fur and concentrated fury, slamming the rogue sideways with the force of a freight train. He shifted back just long enough to pull her up, his hands leaving burning trails where they touched. "You need to shift." "I can't. The silver, you have to. We're outnumbered." More rogues poured from the trees, 20, 30, too many. "This is organized," Pete said, now wielding the cookie sheet like Captain America's shield. "Someone's controlling them. Get the humans out." Beckett shifted again, his wolf magnificent and terrible, tearing into 3 rogues at once. Riot was doing his best to help, throwing rocks with surprising accuracy. "Take that and that, I'm a raccoon of action, a warrior of justice. Ow!" A rogue's claw had caught him, leaving a gash along his side that immediately welled with blood. "Riot!" Hazel's vision went red, then white, then something beyond color. The silver potion fought her. Her body screamed, but her pack, small as it was, weird as it was bleeding. "The shift," ripped through her like lightning finding ground, burning away the silver's poison in pure, incandescent rage. Her wolf exploded out, larger than this morning, gold threads in her red coat actually glowing like live wires. She hit the rogue that had hurt Riot hard enough to send it flying into the playground equipment, metal screaming as it bent. Then she was moving, her wolf finally free, finally whole, finally furious. Together, she and Beckett fought like they'd trained for this their whole lives. He'd go low, she'd go high. She'd distract, he'd strike. Their wolves moved in perfect synchronization, a deadly dance that had rogues backing away. Where he moved, she followed. Where she struck, he supported. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. It was right in a way that sang in her bones. Pete had gotten most of the humans clear, still somehow fighting with his cookie sheet. "This is the weirdest Saturday I've ever had," he announced, braining another rogue. "And I once attended a wedding where the bride turned out to be 3 possums in a dress." "That's not a real thing," Riot protested, then squeaked as Pete scooped him up, cradling the injured raccoon against his chest like precious cargo. "You're bleeding. It's just a flesh wound. I'm very brave. Tell everyone how brave I'm being." "You're very brave," Pete said seriously, using his suit jacket to put pressure on the wound. "I am, aren't I? Ow, that hurts." "Pressure stops bleeding. Pressure stops my will to live. I see a light. Tell my cookie collection I loved it." The remaining rogues suddenly retreated, melting back into the trees as quickly as they'd come. The park was destroyed. Tables overturned, food scattered, a swing set somehow bent into a pretzel. Hazel's wolf stood panting, the shift back fighting her. The silver might be burned out, but her body was exhausted, running on adrenaline and stubbornness. Beckett shifted first, immediately at her side. "Hazel, come back. It's okay." His hands ran through her fur, finding injuries she hadn't noticed. Each touch was electric, grounding, calling her human side forward. "You're hurt. Multiple lacerations. You need to shift back so we can treat them." She tried, but her wolf was too worked up, too protective, still scanning for threats. "Hazel." His voice dropped to something intimate, private, just for her. His hand cupped her massive wolf head, thumbs stroking behind her ear. "Come back to me." The wolf listened to that voice. Slowly, painfully, she shifted, collapsing against him the moment she was human. His arms came around her instantly, holding her against his chest like she belonged there. "I've got you." He lifted her easily, her blood already staining his shirt. She could hear his heart racing, feel the tremor in his hands that he was trying to hide. "Pete? Riot needs a vet, or a doctor, or possibly a witch." "I don't need anything. Tell Hazel and Bucket that." Riot slurred, one paw waving weakly. "I'm perfect." "Pete, tell Bucket I'm perfect." "It's Beckett," Pete corrected gently. "Bucket? Okay, Bucket it is. Stay with me, raccoon." "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." Riot's eyes fluttered. "I think I'm going to pass out now, dramatically, with style." "Don't you dare." Riot went limp with what looked suspiciously like jazz hands. "Car, now." Beckett was already moving, carrying Hazel like she weighed nothing, like she was something precious that might break. She wanted to protest, to say she could walk, but darkness was creeping in at the edges. The last thing she saw was Beckett's face above her, fierce with determination, jaw clenched like he was personally fighting off her unconsciousness. "Stay with me, Hazel," he said, and her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But the darkness was so inviting, and she was so very tired. "The pendant," she mumbled against his chest. "I have it. I have you. Just stay with me." His voice cracked slightly on the last word. She tried to answer, but the words got lost somewhere between her heart and her mouth. Her hand found his shirt, fingers curling into the fabric. The last thing she heard was Riot, apparently conscious again, saying with perfect clarity, "If I die, Pete gets my cookie collection. Bucket gets nothing from me. He got Hazel, that's enough. But that's everything, really. Oh God, I'm getting sentimental." Someone slapped me. Then darkness claimed her, warm and soft, and she let it, because somehow she knew Beckett would keep her safe. Her wolf certainly seemed to think so. It was purring. Chapter 6. Consciousness returned in layers, soft sheets that smelled like expensive detergent, sunlight filtered through curtains she didn't own, and the sound of Riot arguing with someone about the proper ratio of chocolate chips to cookie dough. "You're awake." Beckett's voice came from beside her, rough with exhaustion. She turned her head. A mistake. The room spun, and found him in a chair pulled close to the bed. He looked wrecked. Hair standing at odd angles. Yesterday's blood-stained shirt replaced with a soft sweater, shadows under his eyes that said he hadn't slept. How long? 14 hours. His hand moved like he wanted to touch her, then stopped. "You scared me." "I scared you? You're the one who fought 15 rogues with your bare hands." 23, actually, Pete counted, a ghost of a smile. He's very precise about these things. Where... She tried to sit up, immediately regretting it as her injuries announced themselves. "My apartment, the penthouse." He was beside her instantly, hands gentle as he helped her settle against the pillows. "The elder said you'd be safe here." She warded the entire building, actually. "My security team is still confused about the spontaneous appearance of what they're calling decorative crystals." "The elder was here?" "She's terrifying." He said it with genuine respect. "She told me if anything happened to you, she'd turn me into something unfortunate." She was very specific about what kind of unfortunate. Before Hazel could respond, the door burst open. "She's awake!" Riot bounded in, sporting a professional-looking bandage around his middle. "Hazel, you missed everything. Pete taught me to make cookies. Bucket's mom thinks I'm adorable. There's a pool on the roof." "You let him swim with injuries?" "He let himself swim," Pete corrected, following with a tray. "I turned around for 30 seconds and he was doing laps." "I'm very buoyant," Riot said proudly. "It's a raccoon thing. Also, Bucket's mom gave me my own robe. Look." He did a small spin, showing off a tiny terrycloth robe with RS monogrammed on it. "The S stands for spectacular. It stands for stone," Beckett corrected. "Spectacular stone. I accept this." A woman appeared in the doorway, and Hazel immediately knew this was Beckett's mother. Same storm gray eyes, same sharp cheekbones, but where Beckett was all controlled power, she was elegance weaponized. "You must be Hazel." She glided in, somehow making jeans and a silk blouse look like formal wear. "I'm Patricia Stone. My son has told me absolutely nothing about you, which tells me everything." "Mother." "Hush, darling. I'm meeting your mate. She's not my... The girl you carried home bleeding, refused to leave alone, and personally hand-fed soup, too, at 3 a.m. Beckett's ears went red. She was injured. "He sang to you," Riot stage whispered to Hazel. Very quietly. "He thought I was asleep, but raccoons never sleep. We just rest our eyes strategically." "I didn't sing." "You hummed. Melodically. With feeling." Patricia Stone's smile was knowing. He used to hum to Sarah when she was sick. Still does. Something shifted in Beckett's expression, pain flickering across his features so fast Hazel almost missed it. "Speaking of Sarah," Patricia said gently, "she's asking to meet your friend." "Sarah doesn't ask to meet anyone anymore. She wants to meet the woman who made you smile during a phone call. Apparently you haven't done that in 2 years. Beckett looked at Hazel, something vulnerable in his eyes. "You don't have to. It's hard to see her like this." "I'd like to meet her," Hazel said softly. The walk down the hallway was slow, Hazel leaning on Beckett more than she wanted to admit. Riot had gone suspiciously quiet, perched on Pete's shoulder. "Sarah's room is specially ventilated," Patricia explained. "Her immune system is compromised. We have to be careful about exposure." They stopped at a door covered in photos, Beckett and a girl through various ages, birthday parties, graduations, a beach vacation where they were both laughing at something off camera. "Twins," Hazel said. "She's 12 minutes older," Beckett said. "Never lets me forget it." The room beyond was bright, airy, trying so hard not to look like a hospital room that it almost circled back to being one. Medical equipment hummed quietly, and in the bed, Sarah Stone looked like Beckett's shadow self. Same features but delicate where his were strong, pale where he was vibrant. She was beautiful in the way fragile things are beautiful, like frost on glass. "You must be the strawberry girl," Sarah said, her voice surprisingly strong. "Beck won't shut up about you. I mentioned you once, 14 times in 3 days." Sarah's eyes sparkled with mischief. "I counted," Pete confirmed. "Traitor," Beckett muttered at Pete, who shrugged unrepentantly. "Is that a raccoon in a bathrobe?" Sarah asked. "I'm Riot," Riot waved. "I'm Hazel's emotional support animal. Also her financial advisor, but that's a work in progress." Sarah laughed, then started coughing. Beckett was beside her instantly, helping her sit up, rubbing her back with practiced gentleness. The coughing fit past, leaving her breathless. "I'm okay," she said. But Hazel could see the lie, could see how Beckett's hands shook slightly as he adjusted her pillows. "The moonshade," Hazel said suddenly. "That's what you need it for her." Beckett nodded, not trusting his voice. "Mom, could you give us a minute?" Sarah asked. Patricia hesitated, then kissed her daughter's forehead and left, taking Pete with her. Riot, surprisingly, followed without argument. When they were alone, Sarah studied Hazel with eyes too knowing for someone so young. "He blames himself," she said quietly, "for me being sick. That's ridiculous. We were born together, came into this world holding hands, Mom says. But Beck got all the strength, all the wolf's power, and I got," she gestured at herself, "this, a body that keeps trying to quit." "That's not how it works," Hazel said. "I know that, you know that. But my brother, who's supposed to be a genius, thinks he stole my strength in the womb." Sarah's expression softened. "He's been trying to save me since we were 5 and I had my first seizure. 25 years of watching him tear himself apart every time I get sick." Beckett stood by the window, shoulders rigid. "This time is different," Sarah continued. "The doctors can't fix it. Modern medicine, ancient medicine, they've tried everything. The moonshade is our last hope, and he can't find it." She reached for Hazel's hand. "But you can, can't you? You know where it is." Hazel looked at Beckett's back, the tension in every line of his body. "It's complicated." "Because it's on Crimsonwood territory," Sarah said, and Hazel startled. "I know who you are. Beck's not the only one who does research. The lost heir, the red wolf who disappeared 5 years ago after her parents were murdered." Beckett turned sharply. "Sarah, she deserves to know what she's walking into." Sarah's grip on Hazel's hand tightened. "Our packs have history, not good history. Your parents tried to make peace, create an alliance between Crimsonwood and Stone packs. Mine didn't agree." "Our father was particularly against it," Beckett said quietly. "He died before he could change his mind. Beck's been trying to fix things since he became alpha. But your pack, what's left of it, they're in chaos. The moonshade grows in the heart of your territory, where the rogues are thickest." "The rogues," Hazel said slowly. "They're not random, are they?" "We think someone's creating them," Beckett said, "taking wolves who are already unstable and pushing them over the edge, using them as weapons." "Someone who doesn't want peace between our packs," Sarah added. "Someone who benefits from chaos." Hazel's mind raced. 20 days until the full moon. 20 days until she could reclaim her birthright. But Sarah might not have 20 days. "I'll help you get the moonshade," she said. "Hazel." "But I have conditions." Beckett moved closer. "Name them." "You help me reclaim my pack. Not conquer it, not absorb it into Stone pack. Help me take back what's mine." "Done. And Riot gets unlimited cookies." "Obviously," Sarah said, smiling. "Pete's already adopted him. I think they're planning to open a bakery together." From the hallway, Riot's voice carried, "I heard that. I'd be an excellent business partner. I have ideas, revolutionary ideas about cookie distribution." Sarah laughed again, careful not to trigger another coughing fit. He's perfect. Please keep him forever. He's not a pet, Hazel said, but she was smiling. No, Sarah agreed, looking between Hazel and her brother. He's family, like you're going to be. Sarah, Beckett warned. What? I'm dying. I get to say whatever I want. But she winked at Hazel. Also, I'm not dying. Not if you two can work together. The legendary Crimsonwood Stone Alliance. Take 2. With 100% more raccoons and hopefully 100% less murder. 50% less murder, Riot called. We need to maintain realistic expectations. Beckett's hand found Hazel's, their fingers intertwining naturally. Together? She looked at him, this alpha who hummed to his sick sister, who fought rogues to protect strangers, who looked at her like she was the answer to questions he didn't know how to ask. Together, she agreed. Sarah smiled. Good. Now get out. I need my beauty sleep, and you two need to go be disgustingly romantic somewhere else. Preferably where I can't see it. As they left, Hazel heard Sarah call after them, but not too romantic. I want to be conscious for the wedding. We're not, Beckett started. La la la, can't hear you, dying girl sleeping. In the hallway, Riot was waiting with a cookie in each paw. So, he said around a mouthful of chocolate chips, we're going on a magical plant hunt to save Bucket's sister while fighting off rogues and reclaiming your birthright? Apparently. Cool, 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 cool. He paused. Can we stop for snacks? Adventure makes me hungry. Everything makes me hungry. Existing makes me hungry. Beckett's hand was still holding hers, warm and steady. We'll stop for snacks, he promised. I like him better already, Riot announced. Still calling him Bucket, though. 20 days until the full moon. 20 days to save Sarah. 20 days to reclaim her pack. But standing there, Beckett's thumb tracing circles on her palm, Riot arguing with Pete about optimal cookie temperature, Patricia Stone smiling at them from the kitchen, Hazel thought maybe, just maybe, she'd already found something worth fighting for. Your wolf's purring, Beckett murmured, too low for the others to hear. Shut up. It's cute. Alphas aren't cute. You are. Her wolf was definitely purring now. 20 days might just be enough. Chapter 7. The drumming pounded through Hazel's bones before she saw the fires. Each beat vibrated in her chest, a primal rhythm that made her wolf pace beneath her skin. The sacred drums, the ones that hadn't been used since, that's the Ascension ceremony. Her knuckles ached from gripping the door handle. We're too late. We're exactly on time. Beckett's voice was steady, but she could see the muscle jumping in his jaw, smell the tension rolling off him like smoke. Pete pushed the accelerator harder, the Range Rover eating up the winding mountain road. The headlights caught glimpses of wolves running parallel through the trees, scouts who'd spotted them coming. They crested the final hill, and Crimsonwood territory spread before them like a scene from ancient times. Hundreds of wolves gathered in the sacred circle, torches blazing in patterns that meant sovereignty, power, transition. And in the center, Adam stood with the Alpha's ceremonial blade raised, its silver edge catching firelight like liquid moon. He looked different than she remembered. Broader, his brown hair touched with premature gray. The Beta, who'd always stood 3 steps behind her father, now wore the Alpha's ceremonial robes, her father's robes, like he'd been born to them. By the old laws, Adam's voice carried across the night, rich with authority that didn't belong to him, I claim the right of succession through trial and time. 5 years of leadership. 5 years of... I request an audience with the Crimsonwood pack. Beckett's voice didn't shout. It didn't need to. It cut through the ceremony like a blade through silk, carrying the kind of power that made wolves' hindbrains scream, predator. Every head turned. He stood at the edge of the sacred circle, and Hazel's breath caught. This wasn't the CEO who'd insulted her strawberries or the man who'd hummed to her while she bled. This was the Stone Pack Alpha in full command, power radiating from him in waves that made the torches flicker. Alpha Stone. Adam lowered the blade with deliberate slowness, his smile sharp as winter. What an unexpected honor, but as you can see, we're in the middle of sacred rites. I see you're about to crown yourself Alpha. Beckett stepped into the circle, and even the elders shifted nervously. He moved like violence in an expensive suit. Without confirming, all bloodline heirs are dead. The Crimsonwood line ended 5 years ago. Adam's voice carried just a hint of warning. We mourned them. We searched for survivors. The girl ran. Did she run? Beckett turned to where Hazel stood, frozen at the circle's edge. Or was she hunted? He held out his hand to her. An invitation, a challenge, a declaration. Hazel pulled back the hood of his jacket, the one he'd insisted she wear to mask her scent, and stepped into the firelight. The silence was deafening, then explosive. Impossible. The lost heir, though. Hazel. Little Hazel? She abandoned us. Is it really? Look at her eyes. Her hair caught the firelight like it was made of flames, and her eyes, God, she could feel them glowing gold with her wolf's proximity to home. There was no denying who she was. The Crimsonwood coloring was distinctive, bred true for 300 years. Adam's face was a masterclass in controlled emotion. Surprise, calculation, concern, settling finally on wounded confusion. Even if this is Hazel Crimsonwood, and that's a significant if, she abandoned her pack, left us leaderless in our darkest hour. He addressed the crowd now, voice carrying hurt like a weapon. For 5 years, where was she while we struggled? While rogues attacked our borders? While our children asked why their alpha heir didn't love them enough to stay? The crowd murmured, ugly sounds that made Hazel's skin crawl. The law states, Elder Thomason interrupted from the council circle, his ancient voice cutting through the noise, that an heir has until their 3rd significant harvest blood moon to claim their birthright. His milky eyes found Hazel's. You have 3 weeks, child. She left us to die, someone shouted from the crowd. My son was killed in a rogue attack that wouldn't have happened if we'd had a true alpha. She was 23 and being hunted, Beckett said, and his voice had dropped to something dangerous. Would you prefer she died too? Would that have helped your son? The wolf who'd shouted stepped back, but Adam raised his hands, ever the peacemaker. Please, everyone, this is shocking, overwhelming. We need time to verify her identity properly. I have evidence, Beckett announced, and the crowd went silent again. Evidence about what really happened 5 years ago, about who really killed the former alphas. Adam went perfectly, terrifyingly still. When he smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. That's a very serious accusation, Alpha Stone. One might wonder why you'd involve yourself in Crimsonwood business. One might wonder why you're so eager to complete the ceremony before the blood moon. Beckett's smile was all teeth. Unless you knew she was alive, unless you knew she'd come. The tension stretched taut as a bowstring. Wolves shifted nervously, caught between 2 predators sizing each other up. The elders conferred in whispers that carried despite their age, words like protocol and tradition and dangerous precedent. Finally, Elder Thomason stood, leaning heavily on his carved staff. The ritual is postponed. We'll reconvene tomorrow at sunset to hear all claims and evidence. His blind eyes somehow found Hazel again. Hazel Crimsonwood will be given sanctuary as a potential heir. Alpha Stone as her sponsor. You may remain. She can stay in the guest quarters, Adam said smoothly, back to playing the concerned beta. For her protection, of course, emotions are running high. She stays with me. Beckett hadn't moved, but suddenly he seemed to take up more space. For her protection. Adam's smile tightened. The guest quarters are perfectly safe. She stays with me. Each word dropped like a stone into still water. Adam's eyes flashed, just for a moment, with something that might have been rage. Of course, he said, voice silk over steel. The old Alpha house is available. How? Appropriate. The heir returns to her childhood home under the protection of a stone. He paused, letting the historical weight of that settle. Your father would be fascinated." "My father is dead," Beckett said flatly. "As are hers. Tomorrow we discuss who's responsible for that." The crowd dispersed slowly, wolves staring at Hazel like she was either salvation or apocalypse. Maybe both. As they walked toward the Alpha house, her house once, Riot's head popped out of Pete's jacket. "So that went well," the raccoon said. "Nobody actually murdered anybody. I'm calling it a win." The sacred grove was exactly as she remembered it, hidden in a valley where the moonlight pooled like water. The moonshade grew thick here, silver-blue leaves luminescent in the darkness, the air heavy with its distinctive scent, like mint and ozone and something wild. "Never harvest more than you need," Hazel instructed quietly, kneeling among the plants. She showed Beckett how to cut the stems at exactly the right angle, her fingers sure despite the trembling she couldn't quite stop. "Take from different plants, never the same one twice. And always," her voice cracked like breaking glass, "always leave an offering. Mom taught me that. She said the land gives to us, so we give back to it." She pulled a strand of her hair, watching it catch the moonlight like spun copper, and wound it carefully around the base of the plant she'd harvested from. Her mother had done the same, leaving bits of herself in this grove. Hazel wondered if those pieces still remained, red threads in the soil. "Hazel, you should leave." She didn't look at him, couldn't look at him, focusing instead on wrapping the precious moonshade in silk with the kind of care usually reserved for newborns. "Take this, save Sarah. You don't have evidence against Adam. We both know that. Pete's working on—" "Pete's not going to find anything by tomorrow." She finally met his eyes and immediately wished she hadn't. He was looking at her like she was already lost. "Adam's had 5 years to cover his tracks. Tomorrow, he'll challenge me, or discredit me, or both. Maybe get one of his wolves to accidentally kill me in a misunderstanding. You don't need to be here for that." "You think I'd leave you?" His voice was so quiet she almost missed it. "I think Sarah needs you more than—" He caught her hands, pulled her to her feet with gentle inexorability. His palms were warm against her cold fingers. "I'm not leaving you." "Beckett, show me." She blinked, lost. "What?" "Your parents' graves. Show me where they are." The cemetery overlooked the valley, old stones leaning like tired sentinels. Her parents' graves stood apart, white marble that seemed to glow with its own light. Someone had been maintaining them. Fresh wildflowers stood in crystal vases, the grass trimmed neat as a putting green. "Elder Thomason," Hazel whispered, recognizing the flowers. Crimson lilies, her mother's favorites. "He never believed I abandoned them." She sank to her knees between the stones, her hands shaking so hard she had to clench them in her lap. The marble was cold under her palms when she finally touched it. "Hi, Mom. Dad, I'm home." Beckett knelt beside her, silent as prayer. "I wasn't here." The words ripped out of her like shrapnel. "When they died, I was at the summer training. The final hunting round to prepare for my alpha track. They died because Adam betrayed them. And I know it. I know it like I know my own name. But I can't prove it. And tomorrow—" The tears came like a dam breaking, 5 years of grief and rage and guilt pouring out in ugly, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. "Tomorrow I'm going to fail them again." Beckett pulled her against him and she broke completely, sobbed into his chest while he held her, his hands gentle in her hair, his voice humming something low and wordless and achingly tender. He smelled like cedar and safety, like home she'd never had, and she cried harder because she was going to lose this too. When she finally quieted, wrung out and empty, he spoke to the graves. His voice was formal, careful, the way you'd speak to royalty or gods. "Mr. and Mrs. Crimsonwood, I'm Beckett Stone. You probably wouldn't like me. My father was an ass to you both. But I want you to know." His voice roughened and his arms tightened around her. "I'll protect her, with everything I have. Every breath in my body, every drop of blood in my veins, I'll keep her safe. She's extraordinary, your daughter. Brave and stubborn and kind even when she's trying not to be. She takes in talking raccoons. A wet laugh escaped her. She fights rogues to protect strangers' children. She burns herself with silver poison rather than risk exposing others to danger. You raised her right. You raised her to be the alpha this pack needs, even if they're too stupid to see it yet. He cupped her face, thumbs wiping away tears with infinite gentleness. In the moonlight, his eyes were silver as the blade Adam had held. Tomorrow, whatever happens, you won't be alone. If Adam challenges you, I'll stand as your second. If the pack rejects you, Stone Pack will take you both, you and Riot. You'll never be without a pack again. I swear it on my father's grave, on Sarah's life, on my own wolf. You can't promise that. I'm Alpha. I can promise whatever I want. His forehead touched hers, sharing breath, sharing space. But more than that, I'm yours. Your wolf knows it, mine knows it. We're just slow catching up. Beckett, I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. I know we're probably gonna die tomorrow. His thumb traced her cheekbone, leaving trails of fire. But Hazel, I've lived my whole life waiting for something I couldn't name. Then you threw my money at me over strawberries, and suddenly the world made sense. She laughed, wet and broken and real. That's a terrible foundation for a relationship. The best ones usually are. He kissed her forehead, gentle as a butterfly landing. My parents met when my mother accidentally set my father's car on fire. They were mated 3 weeks later. She set his car on fire? Protest gone wrong. Long story. Point is, we come from a long line of terrible first impressions that turn into forever. From somewhere in the trees, Riot's voice carried clear as a bell. Are you two done being nauseating? Some of us are trying to steal, survey the food situation. These people have terrible security around their pantries. It's basically an invitation. Despite everything, Hazel smiled. We should go before he causes an international incident. Pack incident, Beckett corrected, helping her to her feet. But yes, he's probably already in their kitchens, critiquing their cookie quality. As they walked back, his hand warm in hers, Hazel looked back at her parents' graves one more time. The moonlight made them look like they were glowing, like her parents were still there, still watching. Chapter 8. The main hall reeked of old wood and older blood, centuries of challenges soaked so deep into the floorboards that Hazel could taste copper on her tongue. Adam stood in the center, shoulders loose, weight balanced on the balls of his feet, a fighter pretending to be relaxed. His supporters flanked him, 24 wolves breathing in synchronized rhythm, a pack within a pack. The hair on Hazel's neck stood up. You came. Adam spread his hands, palms up, the picture of reasonable welcome, but his eyes tracked her movement like a hawk watching a mouse. I wondered if you'd have the courage. Courage? The words scraped past her teeth. Hazel stepped forward, but Beckett's fingers caught her elbow, warm, steadying, warning. You murdered my parents. Allegedly. Adam's smile stretched wrong, too many teeth for comfort. According to a vision from a teenage girl who paints her nails black and writes poetry about dead birds. Hardly compelling evidence. The dismissal of Luna made Hazel's wolf snarl under her skin, claws pricking at her fingertips. The blade? What blade? Adam tilted his head, neck cracking with the movement. The one that conveniently appeared after 5 years? Strange how evidence manifests when foreign alphas get involved. The word foreign dripped like acid. Beckett's rage flared hot through their connection. She could feel it burning along her spine, but his voice came out smooth as winter ice. I'm here to make peace between our packs, to heal old wounds, not create new ones. Peace. Adam rolled the word around his mouth like he was tasting wine. No, like he was tasting poison and enjoying it. Your father would be spinning in his grave, a stone, playing diplomat. His lips curled. How? Evolved. The temperature plummeted. Hazel's breath misted in the suddenly frigid air, and she realized it was Beckett, his power leaking out, frosting the windows. My father is dead. Each word fell like a stone into still water. As are Hazel's parents. Today, we determine who's responsible. Yes, let's. Adam's eyes glittered fever bright. His fingers worked at his shirt buttons, revealing a torso mapped with scar tissue, bite marks, claw marks, victories carved in flesh. I demand single combat, alpha to alpha, as is tradition. You're not alpha, Hazel said. Neither are you. Not yet. His shirt hit the floor with a whisper. Unless you're afraid. The little girl who ran rather than face her parents' killer? The words hit like physical blows. Her wolf raged, demanding blood, demanding justice, demanding, I didn't run. You disappeared for 5 years while your pack bled. His voice rose, bouncing off the vaulted ceiling, finding every ear in the crowd, while children asked why their princess abandoned them. And now you return with a stone at your back, asking us to bow to weakness. Enough games. Beckett stepped between them, and Hazel caught his scent. Cedar gone sharp with fury, ozone before lightning. You want combat? Fight me. Adam's laugh cracked like breaking bone. The Stone Alpha wants to fight Crimsonwood battles? How progressive. But no. He looked past Beckett, and his gaze crawled over Hazel's skin like insects. This is between the heir and the man who held her pack together, unless she's too weak even for that. Before Hazel could respond, the doors burst open with enough force to shake dust from the rafters. Elder Thomason entered, and the crowd parted like water. His face, ancient, weathered, usually serene, was carved from grief. The seer is dead. The words sucked all sound from the room. Hazel's ears rang with the silence. Luna? Her voice cracked like a teenager's. She's murdered. Thomason's knuckles were white on his staff. Throat torn out, her scrying tools destroyed. His blind eyes somehow found Adam with terrible precision. You wouldn't know anything about this. I've been here all morning. Adam's voice was honey over glass. With witnesses. Such a tragedy. She was so young. So. His pause was deliberate, cruel, useful. Bile rose in Hazel's throat. He'd had her killed, a 19-year-old girl who wanted to study literature, and he was gloating about it. Without the seer, we cannot perform trial by prophecy, Thomason said, each word dragged from somewhere deep and painful. The old laws are clear. Single combat. Adam's interruption snapped like a trap closing. The only fair way. His gaze found Hazel again, predator sure. Unless the heir forfeits? Hazel's wolf threw itself against her control. She was strong, but Adam had 30 pounds of muscle and 20 years of killing experience. Without her full alpha power, without the Crimson Moon's blessing, the words came out anyway. I accept. No. Beckett's voice didn't shout, didn't need to. It hit like a physical force, making several wolves step back. This isn't your choice, Stone. I'm her mate. The declaration rang off the walls, final as a funeral bell. You challenge her. You challenge us both. You challenge Stone Pack. The crowd inhaled as one. Adam's careful calm finally cracked, his jaw ticking. You can't. Pack Law, Article 7. Beckett's smile was all sharp edges and promise. Mated pairs fight as one. Or would you prefer to face both packs in war? This is Crimsonwood business. She is my business. Beckett pulled Hazel against him, and she could feel his wolf's absolute conviction through every point of contact, hip, ribs, the palm pressed possessively against her stomach. My mate. My fight. The council doesn't recognize, Adam started. The council, Elder Thomason interrupted, exhaustion making his voice heavy, wants no war with Stone Pack. We've bled enough. Coward. Spit flew from Adam's mouth. All of you cowards. She brings chaos home, brings enemies into our sacred halls, and you simper like... The doors didn't just open this time. They exploded inward, one hanging from twisted hinges. Pete stumbled through, and Hazel's stomach dropped. His suit was shredded. Blood ran from a gash on his temple, more seeping through tears in the fabric. His left arm hung wrong. Behind him, stone wolves poured into the hall like water breaking through a dam. 40 of them, maybe more, all partially shifted, all ready for blood. "Pete!" Beckett caught his beta as his knees buckled. What happened? "Ambush!" Pete's words came out wet, bloody. 3 miles out, they knew I was coming, knew what I carried. His hand went to his empty jacket, fingers finding nothing. The evidence. They destroyed it all. Who? Pete's eyes found Adam, and the look in them could have peeled paint. Guess. The hall erupted into motion, wolves positioning, muscles coiling, teeth baring. Stone wolves spread through the space like mercury, finding every crack, every angle. Adam's supporters drew tight around him, hands finding weapon hilts. "You bring war to our doorstep." Adam's voice boomed, playing to the crowd, to history, to fear. "This is what she offers. Stone boots on crimsonwood ground." "You murdered our seer," someone shouted from the back. "Prove it. You attacked a beta under peace treaty." "Prove that too." The air grew thick, hard to breathe. Someone's claws scraped against stone. Someone else growled, low and threatening. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. "Excuse me, coming through. Very important raccoon business." Every head snapped toward the door. Riot waddled through the massive entrance, dragging something twice his size wrapped in what looked like... Were those someone's curtains? The fabric caught under his feet, making him stumble and swear creatively. Riot? Hazel's brain couldn't process what she was seeing. "How did you get here?" He paused to catch his breath, tiny chest heaving. "Pete's car has terrible security. Also, I can hotwire anything, not important." He heaved his burden forward with a grunt. "This is important. Luna's backup scrying glass. She kept it hidden because," and I quote from her diary, which I absolutely didn't read, "Adam gives me the creeps, and I don't trust him not to murder me." "You stole from a dead girl?" Adam's voice cracked with outrage. "Borrowed from a murdered girl team." Riot's emphasis on murdered could have cut steel. There's a difference. Want to see something cool? He didn't wait for permission, just smacked the crystal with one tiny paw. The orb exploded with light. Images erupted into the air, crystal clear and terrible. Luna's last moments playing out above their heads. Marcus's hands around her throat, her nails clawing desperately at his wrists. Adam's voice in the background, casual as discussing weather. "Make it quick, we need this done before the ceremony." Luna fighting, Luna dying, her eyes going dim, then more images cascaded like dominoes. Adam meeting with rogues in moonlight, silver changing hands. Adam pouring something into wine goblets, his smile satisfied. Adam standing over 2 bodies, her parents' bodies, laughing. The sound that came from Hazel's throat wasn't human. The hall erupted. Shouts, snarls, the scrape of weapons being drawn. "Lies!" Adam's roar shook the rafters. He lunged for the orb. Got Riot instead. "Help!" Riot's shriek could have shattered glass. "Kidnapping! Raccoon napping! This is a hate crime!" "Shut up, you little!" Riot's teeth found Adam's thumb with a wet crunch. Then he did something with his back legs that made every male in the room instinctively cup themselves and wince. Adam dropped him with a howl that went ultrasonic. "That's right." Riot scrambled up Hazel's leg, tiny claws pricking through fabric until he perched on her shoulder like a small, furious parrot. "I'm not just adorable, I'm combat trained. Pete taught me. Cookie sheet combat style." The absurdity of it, a raccoon combat style based on baking implements, shattered the tension like glass. Adam's supporters stepped back, then back again. The evidence floated above them, undeniable, playing on repeat. The council has seen enough. Elder Thomason's voice carried the weight of mountains, of centuries, of absolute authority. "Adam Reeves, you are cast out, rogue and packless, any who follow you share your fate." Adam's head swiveled, taking in the faces around him, looking for support, finding only disgust, horror, disappointment. "This isn't over," he snarled, blood from Riot's bite dripping down his hand. Then he ran. 3 supporters followed, young wolves stupid with loyalty. The rest stayed, looking lost as abandoned children. The pack requires an alpha. Thomason's words fell into the vacuum Adam left behind. Hazel Crimsonwood, will you accept your birthright? I accept. The words came out strong, determined. They should have felt like victory. But as cheers erupted around her, as her pack called her name with joy and relief, all Hazel could feel was the hollow ache in her chest growing wider. She turned, searching for Beckett's storm-gray eyes, and found him taking a step back. That was when she realized. He'd let go of her hand the moment she'd accepted her birthright. The absence of his touch felt like losing a limb. Through their bond, she could feel something sharp and painful, like glass grinding in his chest. Will you claim your mate now, Alpha Crimsonwood? Thomason asked, his ancient voice carrying hope. At this most important moment, Beckett spoke before she could. I want to do this right. The words were steady, but Hazel felt him pulling away, his warmth retreating like tide going out, leaving her cold and confused. The Stone Pack needs to vote. My family needs to be present. This isn't just about me and my mate. The formal distance in how he said my mate, like it was a title, not a truth, made her flinch. Of course, Thomason agreed slowly, confusion creeping into his tone. 3 days? The night before the crimson moon? Perfect. The word fell like a stone in still water. As the crowd dispersed, wolves muttering, gossiping, processing the whiplash of triumph turned strange, Hazel grabbed Beckett's arm. His muscle was rigid under her fingers, locked like he was holding something back, holding something in. What's wrong? Nothing. He wouldn't look at her. His gaze fixed somewhere over her left shoulder, and the deliberate avoidance felt like rejection. Beck, we should go. Still not meeting her eyes, and the absence of that connection made her chest ache like a physical wound. Pete needs medical attention. The packs need to be informed. Beckett, talk to me. Later. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, quick, efficient, meaningless as a stamp on a letter. Nothing like the desperate kisses they'd shared before, when he'd held her like she was everything. After Sarah's cured, after everything settled, he was walking away before she could grab him again, barking orders to his wolves. Pure alpha, pure stranger. The man who'd declared her his mate to the entire pack, now treating her like a political alliance. 5 years she'd waited for this moment. 5 years of dreams where she reclaimed her birthright, stood strong and vindicated. In none of those dreams had she imagined winning everything and losing the only thing that had started to matter more. The Crimsonwood wolves surrounded her, congratulating their new alpha, but all Hazel could do was watch Beckett's broad shoulders disappear through the door, taking all the warmth in the room with him. That was weird, Riot said softly from her shoulder, his usual snark replaced with concern. Even for him. Yeah, Hazel whispered, her throat tight with tears she wouldn't let fall. Not here, not now, not when she'd just become alpha. But inside, her wolf howled with a pain that had nothing to do with her parents' confirmed murder and everything to do with the mate who was walking away. Chapter 9. The car's engine hummed, but all Hazel could hear was the silence where the bond should be. So, Riot said from the passenger seat, tiny paws fidgeting with his seatbelt. Want to talk about why you're death-gripping the steering wheel? Because the leather's starting to crack and this is a rental. He pulled away. The words scraped out raw. The second I became alpha, he just pulled away. Maybe he's scared? Males get weird about powerful females. It's like a whole thing. I read about it in Cosmo once. You read Cosmo? Pete leaves them in the bathroom. Very educational. Did you know there are 37 ways to tell if your man is losing interest? You're currently experiencing number 12, emotional withdrawal following a significant life event. Hazel's laugh came out cracked. Riot, I love you, but I'm a raccoon who thinks romance means sharing the good garbage. I know. He patted her hand with one tiny paw. But hey, at least I'm here. That's got to count for something. It counts for everything. The stone estate gates loomed ahead, and Hazel's foot hit the accelerator harder. Something was wrong, more wrong than Beckett pulling away. The feeling crawled under her skin like insects. She barely parked before jumping out, Riot scrambling after her. "Hazel, wait." But she was already through the doors, following the pull of nothing, the bond that had been growing between them, that golden thread she'd started to rely on, gone, cut, like it had never existed. Pete stood in the foyer, still bandaged from the ambush. His face told her everything. "He's completed the potion," Pete said quietly. "He's about to take it to Sarah." "Something's wrong." Her voice sounded foreign to her own ears. "He's blocked the bond. I can't feel him anymore." Pete and Riot exchanged a look, the first time she'd ever seen them in complete agreement. "It's more than that," Pete said. "The potion. It's not just medicine, there's something else. Something he's not telling anyone." "Magic," Riot whispered. "I can smell it." Old magic, the kind that costs... Footsteps on marble. Beckett emerged from the lab carrying a vial that glowed like captured moonlight. Patricia walked beside him, her face tight with worry she was trying to hide. He looked through Hazel, not at her, through her. The dismissal hit worse than any physical blow. "Beck, Sarah's waiting," he said to the heir past her shoulder, and kept walking. She followed because what else could she do? Followed him through hallways that smelled of antiseptic and fear, Pete and Riot silent shadows behind them. Sarah's room had been transformed. Symbols drawn on the floor in what looked like salt and silver. Candles at 5 points. The medical equipment pushed aside to make room for something older, something that made the hair on Hazel's arms stand up. "This isn't just medicine," Hazel breathed. "No," Patricia said softly. "It's not." Sarah lay in the center of the circle, pale as paper, her chest barely moving, but her eyes were bright, aware, tracking her brother as he knelt beside her. "Ready?" Beckett's voice was gentle, but Hazel heard what lay beneath. Goodbye disguised as greeting. "Beck, what is this, really?" "It's your cure." He held up the vial, and the light from it threw shadows that moved wrong. "Everything's going to be fine." "You're lying." Sarah's voice was thread-thin but certain. "You're the worst liar. Always have been. Drink, Sarah." "Not until you tell me. Please." The word cracked, and for a moment Hazel saw through his walls, saw the terror, the determination, the resignation. "Please, just trust me." Sarah took the vial with shaking hands. The moment it touched her lips, the room exploded with light. Not light, power. Ancient power that tasted of moonlight and sacrifice, of healing bought with blood. Hazel recognized it now, the same magic that had been woven into her red jacket. But this was different. Deeper, costing more. The elder's words echoed. "Magic always demands a price." Sarah's back arched, her scream silent as the potion worked through her. Her body shifted. Bones cracking, reforming, not into the weak wolf she'd been, but something else. Something magnificent. White fur erupted, pure as fresh snow. She was massive, larger than most males, almost as large as Beckett. An alpha's wolf. Power radiated from her in waves that made everyone step back. "My God," Patricia whispered. Sarah shifted back, gasping, but her eyes were clear. Her skin had color. Her hands didn't shake. She was healed, completely, impossibly healed. "How?" Sarah touched her own face like she didn't recognize it. "Beck, how? Promise me something." Beckett's voice was too calm, too careful. "Promise you'll run the pack if needed." "What, Beck? Promise me, and promise you'll keep the alliance with Crimsonwood. No matter what, the packs stay united." "You're scaring me. Promise me, Sarah." "Beck, what did you do?" Sarah grabbed his hands, and Hazel saw her recoil. "You're cold. Why are you so cold?" "Promise." "I promise, okay? I promise, but Beck..." He kissed her forehead, gentle as snow falling. "Good, that's good." He stood, turned, and walked out without looking at anyone. Hazel followed, her heart hammering against her ribs. He moved like a ghost through his own home, steady but wrong, like something was pulling him forward on strings. "Beckett, stop! Talk to me!" Nothing. He kept walking down the hallway toward the private wing. "Beckett!" He reached the end of the corridor. Stopped. His hand pressed against the wall like he needed it to stay upright. "Please," Hazel whispered, "whatever this is." His knees buckled. She caught him as he fell, his weight driving them both to the floor. His skin was ice against her hands, his breathing shallow, wrong. "No, no, no." She pressed her palm to his chest, felt his heart stuttering like a broken bird. "Beckett, what did you do?" His eyes found hers finally, storm gray going dark at the edges. "Tibet," he whispered, the word barely more than breath. "The healer. The price." "What price, Beck? What price?" But his eyes were already closing, his body going limp in her arms. She could feel it now, with the bond blocked, feel the absence of him like a wound. Whatever magic had healed Sarah was taking payment. Taking him. "Help!" The scream tore from her throat. "Somebody help!" Footsteps running, Pete's voice, Patricia's sob, Riot's frantic chittering. But all Hazel could feel was Beckett's heart slowing under her palm, each beat further apart than the last. The magic in the air tasted of endings, of sacrifice, of a price she was only beginning to understand. "Don't," she whispered against his hair, holding him tighter as if she could keep him here by will alone. "Don't you dare leave me. Not like this. Not when I just found you." His breath hitched once, then stopped. The corridor filled with screaming, maybe hers, maybe everyone's, but all Hazel could hear was the silence where his heartbeat should be, the silence where their bond had been, the silence that said she was too late. "No!" The word ripped from Hazel's throat, feral and raw. "No, you don't get to do this." She pressed her ear to his chest. Nothing, nothing. Then, there, the faintest flutter, like a moth's wing against glass. "He's not gone." She looked up at Patricia, who'd fallen to her knees beside them. "There's still something. Tell me about Tibet." "Now." Patricia's face crumpled. "He went there before he met you. When Sarah first got sick. The healer, oh God, he didn't, what did he trade?" But even as Hazel asked, she knew. The empty space where the bond had been, the way he'd pulled away, the magic that tasted of endings. His wolf. He traded his wolf for her life. "The potion sealed it." Patricia's voice broke. "Without his wolf, he can't survive. The power, the life force, it all goes to Sarah. That's why she's so strong now. She has his strength too." "No." Hazel's hands shook as she cradled Beckett's face. "He's my mate. He doesn't get to make that choice alone. He doesn't get to decide the fate of his wolf without me." "Hazel," Pete said gently, kneeling beside them. "He didn't let you complete the claim. He pulled away before—" "To set me free?" The laugh that came out was broken glass. "So I wouldn't be chained to a dying wolf? That self-sacrificing idiot." She felt it again, that moth-wing pulse. Barely there. Maybe 3 heartbeats left, maybe 4. "He's still in there," she whispered. "One last thread." "Hazel, what are you—" She didn't let anyone finish. Her fangs extended, sharp and decisive. Before anyone could stop her, she bit deep into the junction of his neck and shoulder, right where the mating mark should go. His blood tasted of winter and endings, but underneath was him. Cedar and storms and that wild thing he kept so carefully controlled. The claim exploded through her like lightning finding ground. She gasped, feeling his dying wolf recognize hers, reach for hers with desperate, fading strength. "Mine," her wolf snarled. "Mine, and you don't get to leave." The drain hit immediately, his body pulling at her life force, trying to fill the vacuum where his wolf had been. The room spun. Her vision went gray at the edges. "Hazel!" Riot's voice, high and terrified. But she held on, pouring everything through the new bond. Every drop of strength, every spark of power, every stubborn, desperate bit of love she'd been too scared to name. "Come back," she commanded through the bond. "Come back to me." She felt him trying. God, she felt him trying. His spirit scrabbling for purchase on the lifeline she'd thrown, clinging to the bond like it was the only real thing in a dissolving world. "That's it. Hold on. I've got you." Her tears fell on his face, salt and desperation. She pulled harder, her wolf lending everything, their combined strength flowing into him, filling the empty spaces, rebuilding what the magic had tried to take. Time stretched like taffy, each second lasting hours, years, lifetimes. His chest rose, fell, rose again. The gray at the edges of her vision crept closer. Worth it, she thought. Even if we both go, it's worth it. But her wolf wasn't done. Crimsonwood wolves were survivors. They were fighters, and they never ever gave up on their mates. Power she didn't know she had erupted from somewhere deep, not her wolf, not her human side, but the place where they met. The same power that would peak at the crimson moon, arriving early, called by need and love and sheer stubborn refusal to let go. She pushed it all through the bond. Beckett gasped. His eyes flew open, storm gray and alive, so beautifully alive. The hallway erupted, Patricia sobbing, Pete laughing and crying simultaneously, Riot doing what sounded like a victory dance while shrieking about the power of love and cookies. But Hazel only had eyes for Beckett, who was staring at her like she was a miracle. "You claimed me," he whispered, voice rough as gravel. "You tried to die on me." She was crying too hard to see properly. "That voids all previous agreements. I traded my wolf, and I gave you half of mine." She pressed her forehead to his, breathing him in. Cedar and storms and life, beautiful life. "That's what mates do, you self-sacrificing idiot. We share everything, the good, the bad, the magical wolf spirits, everything. Hazel, if you ever—" She pulled back to glare at him through her tears. "Ever try to make a life or death decision without me again, I will bring you back just to kill you myself. Understood?" He laughed, weak but real. "Understood. Good." She kissed him then, pouring everything she couldn't say into it. Love and fury and relief so sharp it hurt. He kissed her back, his hands shaking as they tangled in her hair. "I love you," he whispered against her mouth. "I'm sorry. I love you. I love you too." She pulled back just enough to see his eyes. "Welcome back, my soulmate." "That was beautiful," Riot wailed, blowing his nose on what looked like Pete's handkerchief. "The most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Pete, we need to write this down. It needs to be a movie. A book. A cookie commercial." His tiny paw pointed dramatically at Beckett. "And Alpha Stone, if you pull that dying trick on anyone again, I will change your name to Bucket. Forever. I will lodge a record in the Raccoon Supreme Court so that you're stuck with that name for eternity." "The Raccoon Supreme Court?" Beckett asked weakly. "Oh, it's very real, very official. We meet monthly in Mrs. Henderson's garbage shed. Judge Whiskers presiding. You do not want to mess with Judge Whiskers." Despite everything, or maybe because of it, everyone laughed. Sarah appeared at the end of the hallway, moving with her new strength, new grace. She took one look at the scene, everyone on the floor crying, her brother alive in Hazel's arms, and burst into tears. "You absolute ass," she told Beckett, dropping down beside them. "You were going to die for me? You're my sister, and you're my brother, my twin. You think I want to live knowing you died for me?" She punched his shoulder, weak but emphatic. "Never again. Promise me." "I promise," he said, then looked at Hazel. "We're all done with noble sacrifices. From now on, we make decisions together." "Together," Hazel agreed. "Together," Sarah added. "Together," Riot shouted. "Now can someone please get off the floor? This is a very emotional moment, but the marble is cold, and my tiny raccoon body wasn't made for this level of drama." Patricia laughed, wet and shaky but real. "Riot's right. Let's get Beck somewhere comfortable. He needs rest. Real rest. Not the eternal kind he was just attempting." As Pete helped Beckett stand, supported between him and Hazel, Beckett caught her hand. "My wolf," he said quietly. "I can feel it. Different, but there. How?" "We're sharing," Hazel explained. "My wolf is strong enough for both of us until yours recovers. And it will recover. The bond will heal what was broken." "That's not how it works." "That's exactly how it works when you're mated to the last Crimsonwood alpha under a crimson moon." She squeezed his hand. "Did you really think I'd let you go that easily? I hoped you'd move on, find someone better." "There is no one better, you ridiculous man." She helped him into his room, onto his bed. "You're stuck with me. Forever. The bond's complete now. No takebacks." He pulled her down beside him, tucking her against his side like he needed to feel her heartbeat. "Forever sounds perfect. Get used to disappointment," she murmured against his chest. "I snore, and I steal blankets, and sometimes Riot sleeps in the bed." "Only when there's thunderstorms," Riot defended from the doorway. "I'm very brave except for thunderstorms, and vacuum cleaners, and that one specific tree that looks angry." Beckett laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest into hers. "I can live with that." "You better." Hazel closed her eyes, exhaustion hitting like a wave. "Because you're not allowed to die on me again. I forbid it." "Yes, Alpha. Don't you forget it." As sleep pulled them under, Patricia stood in the doorway with Pete and Riot, watching over them. "She saved him," Patricia whispered. "They saved each other," Pete corrected. "That's what mates do." "It's what family does," Riot added, then brightened. "Speaking of family, this trauma made me hungry. Who wants cookies?" "It's 3 a.m, Pete pointed out. "Exactly. Prime cookie time. We need to discuss the wedding plans." "They just almost died," Patricia said, "which means they'll want to get married immediately. Trust me, near-death experiences always lead to rushed weddings. I saw it in a movie once." As they bickered their way to the kitchen, Hazel smiled against Beckett's chest. She could feel his heart beating steady and strong, could feel their bond humming with contentment, could feel their wolves curled together in shared space. They'd won. Against all odds, against death itself, they'd won. And tomorrow, they'd start working on that forever. But tonight, they just held each other, 2 halves of a whole, finally complete, finally home. Epilogue. 1 year later. I specifically said no tiny hands in the cookie dough until after it's baked. Pete's exasperated voice carried across the packed grounds, followed by distinctive chittering that could only mean one thing. The Riot family was helping with event preparation. Hazel looked up from the treaty documents she'd been reviewing, catching Beckett's eye across the pavilion. He was mid-conversation with 3 allied alphas, but his lips twitched at the commotion. "Uncle Pete is being mean!" 2 tiny voices shrieked in unison. "I am being reasonable," Pete protested. "Your father said, 'Riot, don't you dare pretend to be asleep.'" "I'm not pretending," Riot's voice drifted over. "I'm legitimately exhausted. Do you know how tiring it is raising twins? They get their energy from their mother and their appetite from me. It's a devastating combination. You were literally just awake enough to steal 3 cookies. That was instinct, totally different thing." Hazel made her way toward the outdoor kitchen they'd built specifically for pack events and Pete's stress-baking needs. She found chaos incarnate. 2 tiny raccoons, barely bigger than Hazel's fist, had somehow managed to coat themselves entirely in flour. They sat in the middle of Pete's previously pristine workspace, looking angelically innocent. "Aunt Hazel!" they squeaked in unison. "Uncle Pete is hoarding cookies." "I'm not hoarding, Pete paused, surveyed the destruction, and sighed. "Kaya, I blame you for this." Riot's mate materialized from behind a stack of serving platters, looking completely unrepentant. She was sleeker than Riot, with a distinctive white streak across her mask that made her look perpetually mischievous. "You blame me for everything," Kaya said sweetly. "Remember last week when you blamed me for the incident with the fountain? You taught them to turn on taps. They're very intelligent children. They would have figured it out eventually. They flooded the Alpha house." Uncle Bucket thought it was funny, one of the twins, Chaos, Hazel was pretty sure, piped up. Uncle Bucket was in a board meeting when it happened, Pete corrected. He only thought it was funny after the water damage was fixed. Details, Riot yawned, definitely not asleep. My children are prodigies. Aquatic prodigies. Your children are menaces, Beckett said, joining them. He was trying to look stern, but Havoc, the other twin, had started making grabby hands at him, and his expression softened. What did they do this time? Cookie heist attempted, flower explosion successful, Uncle Pete's sanity casualty. My sanity was a casualty the day Riot moved into the pool house, Pete muttered. But he was already cleaning up the twins with practiced efficiency. You love us, Kaya said confidently. You made us matching family aprons. That was before I knew you'd use them as flower transportation devices. Sarah appeared, looking radiant in her role as Stone Pack Beta. The year of recovery had been good to her. She was strong, healthy, and only slightly less chaotic than the raccoons. The allied packs are asking why there's flour in the air, she announced. I told them it was a blessing ritual. And they believed that? Hazel asked. After everything that's happened this year, they'd believe anything. Sarah scooped up Chaos, who immediately began braiding her hair with tiny flower-covered paws. Besides, the ex-River Pack Alpha says it reminds him of snow. He's getting nostalgic. Everything makes him nostalgic, Beckett said. Last month, he got nostalgic about pencils. Remember when we used to have normal problems? Hazel mused. Like rogues and evil betas and ancient blood oaths? Those were simpler times, Riot agreed, finally waking up. He stretched dramatically. Before I had responsibilities. Offspring. A mate who judges my parenting techniques. You tried to teach them to pick locks last week, Kaya pointed out. It's a valuable life skill. They're 6 months old. Never too early to start their education. Pete, back me up. I'm Switzerland, Pete said firmly, now attempting to salvage what was left of his cookie dough. Permanently neutral in all Riot family disputes. Coward, Riot muttered. Survivor, Pete corrected. Elder Thomason approached, moving remarkably well for someone who claimed to be older than dirt itself. He took in the chaos with the serene expression of someone who'd seen worse. The ceremony should begin soon, he said mildly, unless you'd prefer to reschedule the Pack Alliance celebration for after the raccoon children have destroyed the venue. They're helping, Havoc protested, flour poofing from his tiny whiskers. We're very helpful, Chaos agreed, somehow producing a cookie from nowhere despite Pete's vigilant guarding. How did you... Pete started, then shook his head. Never mind. I don't want to know. They get it from their mother, Riot said proudly. They get it from their father, Kaya corrected. I'm merely an innocent bystander. You're the one who taught them to use air vents for transportation. Again, valuable life skill. Patricia Stone arrived, took one look at the chaos, and laughed, a sound that had become more common in the past year. This reminds me of when Beck and Sarah were young, she said, except instead of flour, it was usually mud or paint. Once, memorably, honey. Mother, we agreed never to speak of the honey incident, Beckett said quickly. Oh, but it's such a good story, Sarah grinned. You see, baby Beck decided, moving on, Beckett interrupted firmly. The ceremony? Starting? Soon? Hazel took pity on him, stepping close enough that their bond hummed with contentment. A year later, it still felt new, this connection between them, like coming home every time they touched. The packs are ready, she said. Crimsonwood and Stone standing together, plus the 3 allied packs we've brought in this year. 4, Marcus corrected, approaching with documents. He'd spent 6 months in rehabilitation before Hazel had officially pardoned him, and now served as Interpack Relations Coordinator. Silver Moon just agreed to the alliance terms. That's excellent, Hazel beamed. That means cookie distribution network across 7 territories. Riot interrupted. The dream is real. That's not what it means, Beckett said patiently. It's exactly what it means. Pete, tell him about our business plan. Our business plan? Pete raised an eyebrow. When did I become a co-conspirator? When you taught me to make snickerdoodles, we're partners now. Blood brothers, cookie comrades. We are not, shh, accept it. Kaya, tell him. They're cookie comrades, Kaya confirmed solemnly. I had the documents drawn up. They're very official. Chaos witnessed them. I can't write yet, Chaos pointed out. Details. Kaya waved a paw dismissively. The pack grounds were filling now, wolves from multiple territories gathering for the celebration. A year ago, this would have been impossible. Enemy packs sharing food, sharing space, sharing joy. Look what you built, Beckett murmured in Hazel's ear. What we built, she corrected. Together. Together, he agreed, pressing a kiss to her temple. They're being romantic again, Riot complained. Children, avert your eyes. We like Aunt Hazel and Uncle Bucket, Havoc protested. They give good hugs. And they don't judge us for borrowing things, Chaos added. Stealing, Pete corrected. The word is stealing. Borrowing with intent to probably return eventually, Kaya compromised. As the sun set, the ceremony began. 7 packs united under the Crimson Wood Stone Alliance. It should have been solemn, momentous, heavy with the weight of history. Instead, it was punctuated by Chaos escaping his designated spot and stealing the ceremonial chalice. Havoc providing commentary that everyone could hear. Why is that man talking so long? Is he broken? Riot falling asleep during the oath-taking and snoring, loud enough to echo. Kaya pickpocketing 3 wolves and returning their wallets with cookies inside. Pete trying desperately to maintain dignity while covered in flower handprints. This is not how I imagined this going, Hazel whispered to Beckett during a particularly chaotic moment involving the twins and what appeared to be someone's ceremonial headdress. Really, he grinned. This is exactly how I imagined it. We're not exactly traditional leaders. We're barely functional adults, she agreed. Speak for yourself. I'm highly functional. I have spreadsheets. Your spreadsheets have a column for riot-related disasters. That's called being prepared. From across the pavilion, Elder Thomason raised his voice. And now, to seal this alliance, we feast. Feast! The twins shrieked in unison. They definitely get that from their father, Kaya said. I'm a dignified gourmand, Riot protested, already heading for the buffet with his children scrambling after him. You're a walking garbage disposal, Pete called after him. I'm both. I contain multitudes. As the celebration continued into the night, Hazel found herself standing where it had all started, near the spot where the old farmer's market had been. It had been rebuilt, bigger and better, a symbol of cooperation between human and supernatural communities. No regrets? Beckett asked, joining her. About which part? The mate who still calls my strawberries adequate? The raccoon family that's slowly taking over our lives? The fact that I haven't had a full night's sleep since the twins learned to escape their enclosure? They have an enclosure? Had. Past tense. They ate through it. Of course they did. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her head. But seriously, no regrets? She thought about her parents, who dreamed of pack unity but never saw it. About the red jacket, now displayed in the Pack Museum, no longer needed for hiding. About the Moonshade Grove, thriving under shared guardianship. No regrets, she said softly. Not one. Good. Because Riot's planning to expand the family business, and I think he wants us to invest. The Cookie Empire? No, the new one. Apparently he and Kaya are opening a detective agency. Hazel turned in his arms. A what now? Riot and Associates. We find things and sometimes return them. Pete's already designed business cards. Of course he has. A crash echoed from the pavilion, followed by Riot's voice. That wasn't me. That was definitely Chaos, or Havoc, or Kaya, or Pete, but definitely not me. We should probably, Hazel started. Give it a minute, Beckett suggested. If no one screams, it's probably fine. Our bar for fine has gotten really low. Our bar for fine includes a talking raccoon teaching his twins to pick locks. Fair point. They stood there watching their chaotic, beautiful, absolutely insane life unfold before them. 7 packs united, a family forged from the weirdest possible circumstances. Peace, or at least as close to peace as one could get with raccoon toddlers involved. "I love you," Beckett said suddenly, desperately, ridiculously, even when your raccoon steals my socks. "He steals your socks? Where did you think the twins got their sock puppet collection?" I honestly never questioned it. We really need to work on our situational awareness. "Tomorrow," Hazel decided. "Tonight we celebrate." Deal. But first, we should probably stop chaos from eating the ceremonial candles. That's havoc. How can you tell? Chaos goes for shiny things. Havoc goes for edible things. Usually. Our life is so weird. "Our life is perfect," Hazel corrected, pulling him down for a kiss. In the background, Riot's voice rose above the celebration. "Who wants to hear about the time I saved everyone with my cookie sheet combat skills?" "That was me," Pete protested. "Details." Perfect might be overselling it, but it was theirs. And that was more than enough. The end, author's note. The red jacket was retired but never forgotten. It now sits in a place of honor in the Pack Museum with a plaque that reads, "Sometimes hiding is survival. Sometimes survival leads to something better. Sometimes that something includes raccoons. We regret nothing." Riot insisted on writing the plaque. Pete insisted on editing it. The twins insisted on decorating it with glitter. It's perfect. And there it is, the moment that changes everything. He traded his wolf to save his sister, never knowing his true mate was waiting at a farmer's market with adequate strawberries. She gave him half her soul to bring him back, because that's what Crimsonwood alphas do. They never give up on what's theirs. 2 enemy packs united by a love that literally defied death. And 1 raccoon who insists he orchestrated the whole thing. Crimson Moon Rising was written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee, and yes, Riot approved every word after negotiating for more cookie scenes. If this story made your heart race and your eyes leak, please hit that like button. It helps other paranormal romance lovers find their next obsession. Subscribe and ring the bell because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Here's the best part. This story was written on demand, created specifically from your requests. You asked for shifter romances with real stakes? Delivered. Drop a comment below telling DN Leo what you want next, she reads. Every comment and your idea could become next week's story. Check the description for links to request your own custom paranormal romance. Share this with someone who needs a good, ugly cry followed by pure joy. Thank you for staying through every twist, every near-death experience, and every one of Riot's inappropriate comments. Your engagement keeps these love stories alive. Until next time, this is DN Leo, reminding you that sometimes the most adequate things, like strawberries and talking raccoons, lead to the most extraordinary love. Sweet dreams, Pack. And remember, Riot's always watching. Probably stealing your cookies.